Hello everybody and welcome to Trackalicious. We've got a super fun Monday here. The GT4s are in action in ACC after a week's off. We've got round 6 at Snetterton. I am Kuja Terekov, and joining me tonight is good friend of the program, Tyler Morgan. How are you tonight, Tyler?
I am doing fantastic. It's a very much needed week off, especially with everything that's going on, especially in the NHL play and around the world. But we are back, and we are back at Snetterton. I've raced here before in my inaugural season with the rookies, and it is challenging. I'm interested to see how both the rookies and the drivers in the open handle this very difficult track.
Yeah, indeed. A lot of kind of sweeping corners that kind of feed on each other, and not really too many good braking opportunities, but at the same time, with those undulating kind of twisty corners, it is prone to drivers making a bit of error, so anything really up for grabs here in the rookies and the open later on. Qualifying is underway. Let's head to the track and see what the drivers have in store for us tonight. We start with our rookies series in the GT4s here. Joe Allenson on board here, currently on track in the Emori Racing number 76 Porsche. This is the outlap. Looks like the evens are going out first today in the first 10 minutes of the qualifying session, and then they will pit, and our odd numbered drivers will go out on track next. What are we looking forward to tonight? You kind of said it a little bit, Tyler. The track is a little bit twisty, a little bit difficult to get right. What do you expect from tonight's races?
I expect qualifying to be very, very important. Snetterton's not necessarily a track that you would consider very well for overtime. So it's imperative to have a good qualifying, and a lot of drivers are going to make some mistakes, so it's very important to keep it clean, keep it on the track, try not to, and the problem is like, there's not a lot of runoff in these areas. It's a lot of grass, so if you dip a tire or you go running wide, odds are you're going to have a difficult time getting back on the track safely. So watch out for the rejoins as well. But other than that, as I said, qualifying is going to be most important, I feel like, for these drivers.
Yeah, it should be important. And the tricky corners here, especially track limits, as Tyler was referring to, don't want to pick up too many of those during the race. And of course, during the qualifying, certainly don't want to run wide and invalidate a quick flying lap attempt. Joe Allenson is the first one behind the number 18 on track to set a flying lap. That is the Audi of Chris Saunderson. Just a few corners in front. The number 18 currently sitting in 6th, but no time set. Rounding the final corner. 12 corners here. The last corner is called Murray's Corner, with a blast down the start finish straight known as the Senna Straight. He will cross the line to go top of the charts with a 158.257, and Joe Allenson just behind, crossing the line 2.5 tenths off the pace, but still plenty of time to go in the qualifying to improve that time.
Still plenty of time. These even drivers still have 5 minutes. You have Warden, you have Woods, you have Murray. A lot of these drivers do have their own kind of pace. Sam Warden definitely has that pace. As you can see, some drivers are in different cars. In the rookies, you can switch your vehicle just so that you get a little bit of a taste of everything, and he's been disqualified. Nick Woods has been disqualified. Oh, never mind. It got cleared by an administrator. So, someone's looking out for Nick Woods, apparently.
Yeah, not sure what happened there. It looks like he was just one of the odd-numbered cars on track, and maybe they just disqualified him real quick to make him return to the pits, to make him, you know, just have to forcefully return to the garage rather than ask him to. Sam Warden goes to the top of the charts. A 157.972 is now the time for all the other drivers to chase. Oh, Vicente Morera taking out one of the track limit cones and running wide himself. Of course, that certainly will not help their chances. Yeah, go ahead.
That was in his car. That was in his passenger door. So, I mean, yeah, that would definitely cause you to go off track. And yeah, I'm thinking that's more or less what happened. Is Woods went out on track, someone noticed it, disqualified him, and then undisqualified him. So maybe that is the case. The Nams Hezzy says eating some pre-race chicken, LOL. I hope it's not raw. And like, is it a chicken sandwich? Is it like a chicken salad? Like, I need more information here.
More information certainly from the pit lane needed here, as they are waiting for the odd numbered time to start. Eating some pre-race chicken, getting that energy going. Much needed for the 220 minutes of racing. We had a bit of a lag there from the game. Hopefully no disconnection. It looked like Matroni was joining the server, so maybe that was the cause of that little bit of a lag spike, but they're all still flowing well here. Vicente Moreira approaching the final corner, and let's see what sort of time he can set in the Victory of Conquest Porsche. Down the center straight, the start-finish line is kind of towards the end of this straight before turn 1, and let's see what time Vicente can do. Fortunately, not a valid lap on that attempt, as we saw him take that cone, eat it into his car, digest it out real quick, and then move on and run a little bit wide though, but invalidating the lap. Nonetheless, still some time to go for improvements for him.
Apparently, he's eating KFC. It's the first time racing on the stream, so he's trying to get the nerves out. Okay, apparently Matroni has now been... I guess he was trying to go out too. So I guess we actually have someone actively watching these drivers and making sure they don't leave the pit lane. Sorry to miss the race, says Big Hugh. It's all good. It's just one race. It won't hurt the soul. You have Chris Sanderson taking the final corner, and I almost don't know if he made it out of that alive. He might have kept it valid, but he definitely lost some time. As he comes down to the line, can he improve? I doubt it. Yep, nope, no improvement there. Allison comes across behind him and takes provisional pole with a 157.697. Sam Warden a little too close for comfort, as Matroni again has been disqualified. For what reason, I do not know.
Yeah, looks like just, yeah, not quite sure myself either. So we'll just have to wait and see what plans out through the rest of the qualifying and into the race session, maybe serving some penalties from the races before, and the admins just reminding them that they are not allowed to go out during the qualifying session. Just could be a little subtle reminder. I don't think it's anything too, you know, incriminating, just disqualifying them right away like that. I think it's just a more just like a friendly reminder from the admins rather than a whip on the hand, let's say, with a ruler.
I mean, I don't judge personally, but like a good old slap on the wrist sometimes isn't enough. But my question to Names Hazy is, what chicken? Like, is it like, is it a wing? Is it like? Because personally, I don't prefer bone-in chicken. I hate bone in my food. So, you can judge me all you want based off that, but chicken nuggets versus chicken wings all the way.
Yeah, fair enough. I can't say I have a preference. It's kind of, yeah, just kind of whatever happens, but nonetheless, good old KFC before the race never hurt anybody. And as we hit that 10-minute mark, Chris Saunderson will just elect to return to the pits, not improving on the lap, not setting a valid lap, and so just electing to return to the pits and letting the odd numbers go out there and try their best at setting a flying lap attempt. The last even number is Vicente Moreira in the 84 Porsche.
Let's see what he can do. Oh, okay, never mind. We're not going to see what he can do. I literally spoke and he went into the wall. So, Commentator's Curse 1 has been activated. the question that Big Hugh asked, do you use fingers or a fork? Now, is that in response to Hazy's question, or are you asking me? Because, like, with chicken nuggets, it solely depends on, like, if it's dry or not. If it's sauced, I may use a fork depending on if I need to dip it into another sauce. But, like, hands is always a valid option. It's just a question on if you want to get your fingers messy or not. And if you thought even qualifying was boring, look how many odd qualifiers there are. There's 8 of them on track right now.
Yeah, that was a certainly, not to say a dull session, but just a just a lack of racers, let's say. It was the times are very close at the top. They're within a second for the top 3. And Vicente Moreira also pretty close as well, 1.4 seconds off, but that's just qualifying pace. Race pace is another thing. We've seen Moreira pretty close to the top, or finishing in the top 10 many a time before, so maybe just not able to quite put down a good qualifying lap attempt. As, yeah, like you mentioned, there's a whole train forming up in Sector 3 of all the odd-numbered cars out on track.
Colin Sugg says, get lost in the sauce. Well, I'm going to lose out on some drivers here because of how close they are to each other. Now, in qualifying, it is very important that you build a gap to the car in front of you, because the onus is on you to build that gap and make sure that you don't catch up to the driver ahead, either because on pure pace or a mistake. So it's very important to build that gap. The gap between DeSantiago, Sullivan, and Ramirez isn't all that big. They're not really leaving a lot of room for error here, but it's absolutely, like, it's going to be close to see how this qualifying session all ends up with 7 minutes and 15 seconds left to go. And because all of you started mentioning chicken, I'm now hungry. So I have to wait now till the Open is done to get my fix in. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yep, making us hungry in the booth. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Thanks for cheering those bits. Much appreciated. Forgot to mention that earlier. And a few followers before the stream even started, so thank you guys for following along. Much appreciate the support here at Trackalicious. And thank you guys all for chatting along. It's good to be back after a week off. It was kind of nice to take a week off, but I certainly miss all the racing action we get on Mondays here.
I mean, I'm joking when I say this. I could take it or leave it, but like I'm all joking around. I love watching the rookies just to see how they perform and the chaos that usually comes encompassed with the rookies as we all learn to drive safely here at Trackalicious. Ramirez takes that corner beautifully. I did not the last time we were here, and I got a penalty for it, but that is all important. That's not the importance right now. Ramirez going through the quadruple apex of this turn. It is absolutely, like, in my opinion, stupid, that corner, because, like, you could easily just make this just a longer straight. But Ramirez comes to the line after a very, very, what looks to be very good lap. He'll have company behind him, though, as he will take to the top of the chiming charts. DeSantiago behind him will go second. Sullivan behind will stay in 6th. Not the best lap from him, but Ramirez currently takes provisional pole, and he's doing it by almost a full second, Kuja.
Yeah, that's a pretty good time for Ramirez. We know he has certainly a great amount of pace, and he is demonstrating that for us tonight. Rally Dutchy across the line in 10th, Daly in the Janetta in 9th, and Cloud in the KTM just behind Dutchy here in the frame. Will have a time good enough for 8th place at the moment.
Can we take a look at that KTM more, to be honest with you? What? I know I've seen it like once or twice before, but that KTM actually looks pretty baller right now behind. Like, that actually looks really, really sick. Like, once we get a better view as the... Oh, that looks nice. Oh,
yeah, we'll get a great view of it during the grid walk as well, I'm sure.
Oh, that looks so nice, that livery. Oh, I'll give that a good old 10 out of 10 slap on the door there. That is, oh, that's beautiful. Oh, I'm cheering for you in the race, buddy.
Yeah, Land Cloud, you know how to make a livery, my friend. This is the Grip Runners, number 13. Currently, like we mentioned, time good enough for 8th place at the moment. Currently finishing up Sector 2 into Sector 3. A very tricky left-hander here at number 8, and then following turn 9, that heavy sausage curb protecting the apex. Certainly don't want to take that. We saw what happened to Moreira at the end of his qualifying, just deciding to launch it off that curb, and certainly don't want to commit any mistake like that during the race. And now the quadruple apex corner of turn 11 that Tyler was mentioning before, the quick 90-degree cut at turn 12 before blasting down the center straight to the start-finish line. How high can Cloud get the KTM? Can they go higher than 8th place? Was taken away at a moment from Rally Dutchy, and then Cloud gets it back, and Daly behind in the Ginetta, able to take that place away and slides the British manufacturing car, the Ginetta, into 8th place, taking that away from Cloud and Dutchy behind.
That's a very... the Cloud actually got a really good slipstream behind Dutchy until Dutchy went back into the pits, so... he was getting a really good slipstream there for a little bit of a moment, but now he doesn't have that slipstream, and we are back to where we were before. Kind of just waiting for all the cars to get out of Sector 1 and 2 and get to the line. I think they'll all have time for one more lap. Yeah, they'll all have time for one more lap. So even if this one doesn't pan out for them, they still got one more lap at least to get a good qualifying session in.
Yeah, absolutely. Ramirez leading those to cross the line. He is at the top of the charts right now. Matroni in second, DeSantiago in third. Allenson completed the qualifying earlier and has a time good enough for fourth at the moment, but plenty of odd numbered cars out on track trying to change their fates. Ramirez just trying to improve the time at the top to get that gap even higher than 6.5 tenths clear of Matroni in second place. And how high can Ramirez get the Porsche? Will he improve on this lap? Not quite able to do so. About 2.5 tenths slower on this attempt. DeSantiago, though, able to improve behind, takes second place away from Matroni.
Not an improvement by Shane Sullivan. Then you have the number 13 KTM we saw before. Then you have Jay Daly in the OWP Racing Ginetta LX to practice their pit stop. But in the rookies, you don't have to pit stop. It's 2 20-minute races, no mandatory pit stop. And here comes the McLaren again. Matroni, you saw it last time in the Nürburgring and also in Centerton. This thing is an absolute monster in the straights. I had that famous call 2 weeks ago where I said, here comes the McLaren. Well, here they come again to the line. Can Matroni get up back to P2 where they were before? They cross the line and they take provisional pole. That McLaren continues to be an absolute beast, and it's showing right now.
Yeah, very impressive time. Not only taking second, but taking pole position away from Ramirez, and is happy with that time. Pulls over. I'm just gonna, escape to the pits. No big deal. Brushes shoulders off. And so now it is up to Ramirez and DeSantiago to try and improve their lap times. DeSantiago just behind, Ramirez in front of shot here, running a little bit wide, and unfortunately that is going to invalidate the lap time for Ramirez. So second is the highest he can finish unless Brian DeSantiago in the 777 BMW can have anything to say about that. Just one corner to go, takes it pretty well, and now just needs to rely on that BMW power to get that machine up to the line to try and improve and take the place away from Ramirez, but he's not able to do so. Did improve on his final lap, but not able to take the position away.
That was close by Ramirez there. He was about 1 second away from the timing line when the checkered flag came out. Unfortunate for him. It was really close, but can this KTM manage to find a little bit more pace to get into 9th? No. they will not. And I do believe the last car out on the grid, Nicholas Woods, would have to find an extreme amount of time, almost 3 whole seconds, to find and get up into 11th place. They are the last car that's going to cross the grid. So through the line they go, and they will improve 3/10, but that's not 3 seconds.
Yeah, nonetheless, still should be a fun 20-minute race for all involved. Lots of pretty close times, nonetheless, like scattered throughout the grid. The top 3 were really close. The top 4 through 6, I believe, were also within a second of each other. So we should have some pretty tight battles all throughout the grid here tonight in the first 20-minute race we have ahead of us. And let's remind ourselves of the starting grid in race 1. Tyler, would you like to do the honors tonight?
Sure, why not? Oh, that's not P1. That's P1. Matroni in the Canarinos Racing Team number 5, rocking the Brazilian flag. That McLaren is an absolute beast so far right now, and it continues to show. It is the class of the GT4, that lovely Trekalicious logo you can see. Thank you very much. P2 is Emmanuel Ramirez in the 157 Costa Rica Racing. Very much a threat to win this race, as always. Then P3, we have the always reliable Brian DeSantiago in that NPG Racing BMW. Reliable as ever, looking for another reliable finish up today. Then we have Joe Allenson, the hurt at Nürburgring, still fresh in his mind. Number 76 in that Amori Racing Porsche. Then you have Shane Sullivan, P5 in the 617 Racing, his BMW counterpart just up ahead. He's hoping to maybe swap those positions by the time the checkered flag rolls around. Then you have Sam Warden, number 22 in the V8 Racing in that, why do I want to say Camaro or Corvette? I think it's a Camaro. Number 22, he sits in P6. Then you have Saunderson in the GT4 Audi, sitting in 7th place, P18, rocking the Canadian flag for the Allison Racing. Gotta love that. Respect the pride there, sir. Then you have Vicente Morera in the Victory of Conquest Porsche, number 84, currently sits in P8. Then you have Jay Daly in the OWP Janetta. Don't see those very often here. In the 139, he sits P9. And to round out the top 10, you have Lon Cloud in the Grip Runners KTM. That livery just looks amazing. I would love to keep seeing that every week. And then from the final 5, you have Rally Just Dutchy in the Mad Fox 621 Racing. He sits P11. Sadly, the livery didn't load. We'll hopefully get that fixed next week. In P12, you have Nicholas Woods in the Meme Dream Team Mercedes. I don't know if the livery loaded. Hopefully, we'll get that fixed out. I'd love to see how many memes are on that. Then you have Hezekiah Thomas in the V8 Racing. Looks like he's got a teammate this time. Number 59 sits P13. Then you have in the 73, that is not doing a pit lane start, Jeff Franks in the Love Wins Racing AMG. I love just the full matte black part. And then you have Spady Bud, number 21 in the Mad Donald's 21 livery. He's number 21 and he will sit pit 15. And that rounds out the grid with Morera, Dutchy, and G Franks taking pit lane starts for race 1.
Yeah, not too many pit lane starts this time. Good to see that from the kind of hectic couple of races we had at the Nürburgring in the rookies race. And then of course that Nordschleife race in the Open was so much fun to watch from a spectator's point of view. I'm sure it was absolutely chaotic being behind the wheel there. A one-off appearance, maybe not, we'll see. Ollie Raza joining for the Nordschleife and dominating at the top there. We'll see if he'll be joining us for the remaining rounds as well. But that is last week, or 2 weeks ago now. This is now. We've got the rookies coming up here. Round 6 at Snetterton. Absolutely fun track. 3 miles, this layout. It's the Snetterton 300 track. They do have alternate layouts. They have the 200 and the 100 track. Slightly shorter versions, the 2 mile and the 1 mile layout. Taking slight little corner cuts here and there to shortened configuration a little bit, but we are running the full Snetterton layout here tonight. Sorry, go ahead, Tyler.
Ali Raza stole the win from my GOAT. I'm so sad. It makes me so sad that Morera didn't win the GOAT, but that is, as you said, that is 2 weeks ago. We are here in the now. Can that McLaren of Matroni hold on to the dominance that seemingly has allowed the GT4 McLaren to keep going on? Or are we going to have Ramirez, De Santiago, Allison, or maybe even Sullivan take that away? They still have a long way to go before they hit the checkered flag. Tires and brakes needing to be warmed. So it's all about the race prep, making sure you're all good and making sure you're not out of position to get a drive through. In which case, in this rookie race, being only 20 minutes, a drive through is almost just unrecoverable.
Yeah, absolutely is. You don't want to risk any track limit violations coming to play towards the end of the race to bite your race in the butt, per se. And now it is time to line up two wide in zipper formation as they go through the final corner, or the final right-handed corner before the last left-hand at Murray's, before going down the start-finish straight. Any last-minute preparations here now, just weaving and braking, getting the brakes up to temperature, getting the tires up to temperature as well. Of course, the GT4s do not have any tire warmers coming out of the pit lane, so it is very important to get those warmed up on your outlap in the GT4s. And now the long wait for all of these drivers down to the start of the race. The green light will wave and it will release our 15 car grid for the first 20-minute race of the GT4 Rookie Series.
Green light, give it all you can.
And the green light goes. Good start from Matroni. Covers off the inside. Allenson falling back a little bit. Sullivan's going to take fourth place in the background. And Matroni takes the inside away. We'll see if Ramirez might have a run at him into turn number one, though. Can he go take a look down the inside? Not into turn one. This is turn two. The tight hairpin of Montreal. And he is not able to capitalize on that opportunity. Further behind, Chris Saunderson in the Audi, under pressure from Warden behind, able to get that position off the start, and unfortunately Allenson falling back. A bit of a kicking up of the dust in the gravel. I believe that was Jay Daly running a little bit wide, and now will be under pressure behind from the KTM going into turn number 4.
Plenty of racing still going on. That's actually Allenson going off the track a little bit, going a little bit deep. The power of the BMW against the Porsche Sullivan just seemed to have a better jump on the grid. So he'll gain that position and move up to P4. You already have Dutchy and Morera already even out of the pit lane fighting each other there in the background. Morera having the much better pace over Rally Dutchy in the qualifying, seemingly showing now in the race. But right now it's from all up to Ramirez, Matroni, Sullivan, Santiago, and Allenson to fight out there. And that is Ramirez defending from Santiago. Santiago looking for a little bit of a sniff, but Ramirez defending quite well.
Yeah, he defended that super well. De Santiago looked like he had a bit of a run to the inside, but Ramirez cut off any opportunity for the BMW to overtake. Go Matroni is the chant coming from the chat. And a redeem from Xander Zone as well. Thank you very much, friend. Take a sip of my tea here right as the race is getting underway. Still plenty of action to go. Saunderson able to get a position from the start from Sam Warden. Moves the Audi up into 6th place. De Santiago looking really racy. He's going to try to send it around the outside of turn 1. Ramirez covers it off, but runs a little bit deep. Misses the apex. Is this the opportunity for De Santiago to take it to the inside? And Ramirez, once again, taking the defensive line, is very, very cautious about a move coming from the BMW behind, and now wants to put on the power for this left-handed corner at turn 3. And we'll see just how beneficial this is for Matroni, but he doesn't look like he's quite able to get away from this battling pack for 2nd and 3rd. And Allenson might have a run on Shane Sullivan coming in to turn 4.
Oh, that's a little bit of a bump in the back, I think, there from Allenson on to Sullivan. Thankfully, it doesn't result in a change of position, which is always good. Allenson going a little bit deep because of that contact. That's going to allow Saunderson and Warren possibly the opportunity. If it helps, you can just call him Hezi. Well, I guess the question is which person are you talking about? Because I don't see an H anywhere in this other than, oh, I think they're talking about number 12 in the 59 Camaro. I believe that's Thomas they're talking about. But right now, it is all up to Allenson. Allenson kind of doing enough to catch Sullivan, but not doing enough to pass him. And catching is one thing, passing is another.
Yeah, it sure is. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1 for Rally Dutchy, but he's able to get the Aston Martin rolling and will look to get on the back of the grid. Oh, and DeSantiago running wide from P3, and that gives the position to Allenson and Sullivan. The BMWs swapped, move up into third, right as you called it, and now Sullivan up into third, and DeSantiago dropping down the order, unfortunately. The 777 now in fifth place with Allenson in a BMW sandwich, but now it's the other way around.
Santiago, when he came back on the track, Sanderson, he didn't have to lift. It was a good, safe rejoin. But Sanderson kind of reacted to Santiago coming off, and that allowed Warren to get even closer to Sanderson right now. Santiago has the pace. He can catch Allenson, but that Porsche is very small. It's very nimble compared to the very wide BMW. So it's going to take a lot for Santiago, especially in the corners of Sector 2 and 3, to really get a good sniff at this. Sam Warren also trying to maybe get a sniff on this Audi, but so far, nothing seemingly working right now. Everyone's just kind of holding pace right now, but Matroni and Ramirez seem to be in a class of their own right now as they drive away from the rest of the pack, and that is Rally Dutchy off in the final turn, unfortunately.
Yeah, the 621 maybe just having a little bit of damage, and there it is, retiring to the pits in race 1. Franks as well. That's Jeff Franks in the pits, not able to take the start of the first race, but hopefully we will see them in action for race 2. It is very close at the front between Ramirez and Matroni. The battling between Ramirez and DeSantiago was certainly slowing the Porsche down, and now he is right on the tail of the McLaren for the lead. There's a pretty big gap opening up to P3, like you mentioned. It's around 5 seconds to Shane Sullivan, and he himself is opening up a fair bit of a gap to Allenson behind, but he certainly has the other BMW for company right in his mirrors, and he is certainly feeling the pressure there, running a little bit wide, kicking up some dust, and we'll see if the BMW might even take advantage, looking to the inside, but the Porsche looking really confident through the sweeping right-hand turn of 11 into the braking zone of 12. Oh, and there's a tap from the BMW, a bit of a tap, but all the positions are held the same still. Just a little bit of damage received, I'm sure, to both cars, and it looks like they're going to go side by side here down the Senna straight into turn 1. DeSantiago currently in front, and he gets the position around the outside into turn 1.
Little bit of a bump there to Allenson. That's going to cause Allenson to not have his speed going into the corner. That allows DeSantiago to get that position. A little bit of a dirty pool there, but nevertheless continuing on. We'll let the drivers sort that out later, as that is Ramirez right on the back of Matroni. It is constant there, up there. Like, it's just, they won't leave each other alone.
Yeah, they are certainly keeping each other company, and all the meantime having tremendous pace to run away from P3, leaving them in the dust. Now the gap has grown by another 0.6 of a second in that first sector alone, and these two are now in a league of their own. It is Matroni in the Brazilian colored McLaren versus Emmanuel Ramirez in the Costa Rica Racing 157. Who will take the advantage going into turn 8? One of the heavier braking zones on the track. A very difficult overtaking opportunity if you don't have a good overlap. It's still a pretty quick left-hander before sweeping back to the right. That sausage curb again coming into play. Side-by-side battles nearly impossible going into turn 9. And then turn 10 and 11. Long sweeping right-hand corners before going into that final corner of turn 12. And we'll see if Ramirez might have a good look here as he just decides to back out of it. Matroni not running deep, confident on his line, but Ramirez gets a fantastic launch out of the corner. Down the center straight they go. Who will take the advantage into turn 1? We know the McLaren has tremendous straight line speed advantage, and it was definitely helping Matroni there as Ramirez got a good corner exit out of the final corner, but he just can't capitalize on the speed of that McLaren in front.
Nope, the McLaren continues on running its pace, running its straight line speed, and I've been told by someone in the paddock to ignore G Franks. They are only there in our minds. They do not exist. Ooh, spookiness as Emmanuel Ramirez tries to seemingly scare Matroni into giving him that P1 position, but there's sadly no luck. De Santiago got past Alonson while we were covering Emmanuel Ramirez and Matroni. So De Santiago's next goal. Wait, did we? Oh, yes, we did. Never mind. I am crazy. I'm losing my mind already. It's not even the Open yet. It's not even race 2, and I'm already losing my mind. But nevertheless, Emmanuel Ramirez is desperately trying to get past this McLaren, and he's not going to be able to do it in these straight areas where the McLaren will have just the speed advantage tonight. And I've just gotten word that Nairati will not be racing the Open tonight. So then why am I here?
You're here to commentate on all the drivers, Tyler, not just your favorite ones. You can show favoritism, but you still have to support everybody, and that is what we do here at Trackalicious, especially in the rookies. We're learning it's a bit of a learning curve, especially all these racing games, just coming from a controller, maybe picking up a wheel for the first time, just getting adjusted and used to how all those controls feel for the first time is quite a daunting task, and then setting all of the settings correctly with how much advice the internet likes to give. It's like, oh, your force feedback isn't dialed to the exact correct percentage, and then, you know, it just becomes a frenzy. But it's always good to see that people are trying new things with what they got, especially the racing. It's a very fun hobby to pick up, and that's kind of what brings us all here together, Tyler.
Lamau exposed. AI is not getting it. I used to start controller and down in through the inside goes to Santiago. That move was a little bit over excited, and there goes Sam Warden across the track. I was just about to make a comment about how, like, we haven't really seen a lot of collisions, and congratulations to all the drivers for keeping it clean. And then goes to Santiago down the inside of Shane Sullivan, a very not calculated move, and then all of a sudden Sam Warden comes across our screens. Like, what in the world has happened? Sullivan now has a stranglehold on P3, Alonson in P4, and Saunderson now in a top 5 position, all because De Santiago thought he could maybe get up the inside, but just carried too much speed, locked up the brakes, and went into the grass.
Yeah, just not quite on the right braking mark there was the 777 BMW, nearly colliding with the other BMW, but Shane Sullivan able to avoid the carnage. Oh, and there's a contact between the leaders. Ramirez hitting the back of Matroni. Matroni getting sent into the grass. He is able to recover the position, and Shane Sullivan in the BMW is going to sweep through. And now we have a change in podium places. Shane Sullivan benefiting massively from all of the rookies in front going off track and all the chaos around him. Meanwhile, he's just got his head down, racing his own race from 5th place all the way up into 2nd place now.
It's like the 10-minute mark hit and the drivers went, you know what? Now's the time to cause chaos. What an absolute crazy sequence of events. Ramirez wanted to wait for Matroni to give the position back, but Shane Sullivan was just too close, so he had to go on. And De Santiago is gonna try and get back into the top 5 here. Is he gonna go for another send here, or is he going to use the and there goes, don't hit him! My goodness, that was so close. And the fall from grace for Matroni continues on as he now loses a place to Alonson and Saunderson. The fall continues on for Matroni.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit of damage on the back of that McLaren, not quite able to maintain the speed that he's used to into that corner, and he's going to try to send it up the inside of the BMW. The BMW in a real tight sandwich here. Now, a bit of an oversteer on the exit of turn 4 might give the McLaren an advantage into turn 5, but the BMW sweeping to the outside, confident in the racing line, taking that position still here. What circuit is this? This is Snetterton Circuit. It is in England. Now, I'm not sure quite which town it is close to, but it is called Snetterton. That is where we are at tonight. Oh my gosh, yeah, like literally somebody quite hit the content button. You're quite right there. And yeah, it literally happened.
Secrets, Kuzya. He needs to stop giving away the secrets. It's down the inside. There's contact made from De Santiago and Matroni. Careful on the rejoin there, De Santiago. Little bit of contact made. Matroni wanted to go up the inside, but it was just way too advantageous. As you had called out before, overtaking there is a little bit of a dangerous game unless you have the overlap, and you saw the direct effects right there. And that down the inside goes. Oh my goodness. The fall from grace as Matroni continues to lose positions. The damage to that McLaren is just so much, and I do believe they've come into the pits. Yep, you see that on the left-hand side of your screen. They have come into the pits. That is a lost race for Matroni. The fastest lap and everything meaning nothing if you keep getting involved in these collisions and you keep getting off track and losing positions. And that's allowed everybody to move up one spot. Speedy Bud, who qualified 15th, is now up into P7.
Yeah, that was a great send by Spady Bud into that final corner, able to sneak on the inside of the KTM and also getting the position from Matroni. So it's a really strong race from Spady Bud so far. With 5 minutes yet to go, this all the action that's happened yet, absolutely anything can still happen here. And yeah, Ramirez has a pretty good lead once again at the front. It's opened up to around 4 seconds now, and Shane Sullivan, the same, has a pretty good gap to Allenson, who finds himself in that final podium position, also able to avoid all the chaos after a bit of a slow start, dropping a position, but still confident in that Porsche in the 76. Saunderson, likewise in the Audi, kind of a heads down driver, just maintaining their pace that they know that they can do, finding a strong top 5 position here. And the Ginetta also in the top 5 in the 139, qualifying near the top 10 and now finding themselves in the top 5. De Santiago will certainly look to change things in the 777 as he has fallen from 3rd place on the grid. Spady Bud in front of this battle here between Cloud and Warden. Absolutely fantastic start from the back of the grid, and Cloud relatively in the position that they started. Sam Warden, though, dropping a little bit from the start, has a fantastic run down the center straight. The Camaro straight line speed over the KTM pretty evident here, and he's got his Camaro buddy in front, giving him a little bit of a slipstream. The KTM is just deciding to drop back into turn 1, and Sam Warden with a confident overtake into turn 1 there.
Beautiful overtake there by Sam Warden. The KTM realized they probably couldn't fight into that corner or elected to choose their life after the carnage that has ensued over the last 5 minutes. 5 minutes, people, that all that carnage just seemingly came out of. And right now, Allen and Saunderson is on the back of Anderson, less than a second. De Santiago's back on the Ginetta, less than half a second. So, and then you have Sam Warden on the back of Speedy Bud, also less than half a second. There are still individual pockets of racing going on right now. So, by no means is this over yet, but it's sadly over for Matroni, who got hit in the back once and then everything just seemed to downfall from there. And with Xander, stop spilling the secrets. You're going to give away our secrets. Be quiet.
Yeah, certainly a lot of action picking up, and Saunderson is on the back of Allenson, like you mentioned, and DeSantiago gets the position from the Ginetta back into a top 5 position. Goes Brian DeSantiago, and the battle in front continuing for that final podium position. The Audi of Saunderson trying to sneak through in the number 18, and Shane Sullivan is really not too far up ahead. 1.7 seconds is the gap. A pretty slow couple of laps from Shane Sullivan has brought him back into this battle between Allenson and Saunderson. He is just up the road, and that is Matroni with a fixed car back out on track just in front of this battle here. Saunderson really closing the gap on the 76 Porsche now within half a second. Will certainly look to get that position and look in to get into a podium position with just maybe 1 or 2 laps here to go.
Definitely. This next lap will be the next lap and the final lap of this race, not the one we currently on. Ramirez will have to cross the line one more time. He does have time for that, so it gives these drivers plenty of time to have this chance. As Saunderson right on the back of Allenson for that final podium position. DeSantiago driving their heart out to try and get close enough to this battle. And here is the view from the Fanatec rear wing of Allenson. That Audi getting very dangerously close, sniffing the exhaust coming off of this Porsche. Allenson gone a little bit of wide on exit. This exit is so important to get the run down this long rear straight. Saunderson looking for any mistake that Allenson will make. He may go wide. Saunderson making a dummy move there on Allenson, causing him to go a little bit more inside, and that is someone cutting across the gravel. That would be Matroni getting out of the way of this battle. And and there is DeSantiago. He is not far from this battle at all. He's gaining almost half a second on these drivers that are up ahead. Allenson getting away ever so slowly. However, Allenson appears to be closer to Sullivan than Saunderson is to Allenson. So
yeah,
this final battle is not out of the stretch.
Yeah, there is nothing separating second, third, and fourth. And DeSantiago really sneaking into this battle in the background as well. The two Camaros of Warden and Bud were able to swap positions. So Sam Warden up into 7th, Spady Bud into 8th place. The two Camaros at the back there, like we mentioned, swapping positions. But this battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and now 5th with DeSantiago very much getting involved in the action here. Joe Allenson finding himself in a pretty difficult battle here. Has a really good 3rd position. Doesn't want to lose it to Saunderson behind, but will want to gain anything he can if Sullivan opens any opportunity in front. Ramirez has pretty much run away from this battle. He is 11 seconds up the road. Allenson, though, running a little bit wide in the Porsche, not helping his chances of staying close to the BMW. Might let the Audi close up a little bit, and a bit of a twitch on the exit, like you mentioned, Tyler. Saunderson down now the back straight, the Bentley straight, as it is named, and this will certainly be one of the better final overtaking opportunities for these four to try and change their positions.
This is a battle for P2. There's 4 drivers, almost separated by 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds. One mistake here and your podium position may be gone. So it's all up to Shane Sullivan. There, he's leading this quadfecta around the quad apex. That will be it. Emmanuel Ramirez will win this race. There is no doubt about that. Can DeSantiago look up the inside or the outside of Saunderson? Saunderson defending as well as he can. The BMW gonna get sketchy. The BMW might go for a dive here right then, right now. He does not elect to dive, and that is Ramirez winning this race. But here comes the sprint down to the line. Can Allenson get Sullivan? No, he will not. They will separate by look at the times in between the top 4. Sullivan takes 2, Allenson takes 3, Saunderson 4th, DeSantiago 5th, then the Ginetta in 6th, Sam Warden in 7th, Spady Bud in 8th, Cloud in 9, and Ramirez, as much as he's taken the checkered flag P1, did not want to win it like that, taking out Matroni as Matroni fell all the way down across the line. Then you'll have Nicholas Woods P10, Vicente Morera finishing in P11 after serving his pit lane start. And then you will have Hezi Thomas finishing P12. Hell of a finish, gentlemen, is right. And we still have one 20-minute race left to go.
Yeah, that was certainly chaos after that halfway minute mark, like you mentioned, Tyler. Literally, the race director said, we're at the halfway mark, and then everything started to unfold after that. And yeah, Thomas here, the last out on track in the 59 Camaro to cross the line. Good consistent run from Thomas. Just a little bit of a wiggle there running into the grass, but all is under control from the Camaro driver. Up to the line, 11 laps completed from Ramirez, and that was just 20 minutes, and we still got 20 more to go. Absolutely crazy stuff happening. Matroni will certainly look to get more involved in the mix there, hopefully avoiding as many off-track incidents. And then, yeah, Thomas playing on the keyboard. Yeah, that's certainly difficult to do in ACC, so props to him for sticking to it and getting it done. And yeah, I've tried it before. I've had to do it one time when my wheel failed. I had to use the keyboard to get back to the pits. And yeah, it was absolutely difficult. So props to him for sticking with it, and certainly not a bad pace for being on keyboard.
He's on keyboard. That is amazing. You can tell he's on keyboard too with every one of those janky movements. The fact he's able to get around the track on keyboard is already beautiful enough. Congrats to him for finishing out the race and honestly keeping it on track. That's pretty impressive. I do not. He does all his racing that way. Wow, that is insane. Woo! Can only imagine how much that is. Spadey Bud saying he's back. Buddy, you had a P8 finish. Let's relax a minute.
He's back, but he started from the pit. He started from the back of the grid, though.
I mean, I get he's back, like the back of the grid, yes, but like. Also, Nairati calling me out for my Ferrari moment. This next lap will be the next lap.
Must be the water.
It must be the. This lap is the This final lap is the final lap.
No, this next lap is the next lap. I believe was the wording.
Oh no, it absolutely was, but that's what I should have said. This final.
The final lap is the final lap. Also, true. Spadey Bud got his new wheel, so he's able to race. Heck yeah, my man. That's super exciting news. Always exciting to get a new piece of equipment in the house, get it set up, get racing with it. And yeah, race 2 certainly going to bring some more. We saw plenty of action at the front and the back, really all throughout the top 10. Action packed from start to finish. And yeah, let's go through the top 10 again. Let's remind ourselves of how we started race 1, because that is certainly not how we finished it at the end. At the front, we had Domingos Matroni in the number 5 McLaren, showing off those Brazilian colors, the yellow, blue, and green. A bit more black on the McLaren, but nonetheless representing the nation proudly in the number 5, followed by Emmanuel Ramirez, also representing Costa Rica Racing in their red, white, and blue colors in the 157 Porsche. Will line up in second place. Hopefully a bit more clean from the two up front. Hopefully Matroni able to get more involved in the action. Brian DeSantiago, a couple of mistakes, a bit late on the braking, and now in the 777 has the opportunity to line up in third place and get a better getaway. Joe Allenson finishing on the podium in race 1 from 4th place will look to try to do the same in the number 76 Porsche. Shane Sullivan capitalizing on all the chaos, getting up into 2nd place from 5th. So we'll start in 5th once again here in the 617 BMW. Sam Warden, we saw come in to shot as DeSantiago was basically doing the exact same incident at turn 2. We'll look to avoid that same fate and have a higher finish, starting in 6th place in the number 22. Chris Saunderson, a really strong top 5 finish after starting in 7th place in the number 18 Audi. Will look to have that same result here in race 2. Vicente Moreira serving that pit lane start already will start from 8th place in race 2 in the 84. Jay Daly in 9th in the OWP Racing Ginetta. Again, a good finish representing, I believe, finished 6th in the previous race in the 139, starting from 9th place. Lon Cloud, the Grip Runners fan favorite, Tyler favorite, the number 13 KTM, purple, white, and black and silver accents on that KTM. Certainly really shiny and a very fun looking livery as well. In 11th, Nicholas Woods, the Meme Dream Team, the 39, rolling underway for the formation lap. Franks does not exist. I don't know who Franks is. And Spady Bud, last but not least, strong finish in the top 10 after starting from the back of the grid in 13th. This is the Mad Donald's 21 Camaro rounding out the grid.
Hazy's sim has crashed. So I don't know if they're going to make it back in time, for, unfortunately. So we will have 11 drivers for this race number 2. And despite there only being like less than 15 drivers, the content that we got in that 5-minute span was in that final 10-minute span was absolutely mental. Now, I wonder if they're going to flip it and just as soon as the race start begins, that's when everything will go to absolute smithereens.
Yeah, maybe we'll see a bit of the opposite. Yeah, like you mentioned, the first 10 minutes was pretty quiet. There were a few position changes, certainly. And yeah, Hezi, yeah, maybe get back in time before the formation lap's over and just have a good little pit lane start and try to work your way up from there. Like, we saw plenty of incidents, so anything can happen. Do try to get back in. We love to see people sticking it out despite all the tech issues. And continuing on, Matroni as well after those incidents got back into the pits, repaired the McLaren and kept driving, set the fastest lap, and yeah, just unfortunately had a few more off tracks at the end there and just decided to get out of the way of the cars in front that were battling for position instead.
I mean, no judgment, completely fine.
Yeah,
no worries there. Do whatever. I might be back in time before the race start, I hope. Well, I'd say you got about 30, anywhere from like 45 seconds to a minute. Yeah, I was about to say, you got 45 seconds to a minute before the race actually begins. You will probably most likely have to pit lane start, though.
Yeah, certainly going to be a pit lane start, if anything. Oh, and Moreira taking out the brake markers early. A bit of maybe a tactical move there, just getting everybody off their mark early on, or just missing the warm-up procedures as we see all the cars weaving from side to side, getting those tires warmed up, getting the brakes warmed up as well. Bit of heavy braking here as they start lining up 2 by 2 from 1st to 12th, with Franks not existing in the pit lane, and hopefully we will have Hezi back for the start. Yes, we've got Thomas in the pit lane. Let's go. The 59 Camaro will be joining us from the pit lane, but this will be the start of race 2 as they approach the green flag at the end of the Senna Straight where the start finish line is held. Ramirez is well ahead of the pack. He is ready to get going for sure. He is qualified in second though, gives that position to Matroni. Let's see what happens here in race 2. Quiet start from before. Let's see what race 2 brings us as they approach the line for the green flag, and that will release all of the drivers here. They are released, and De Santiago just pulling in behind Ramirez. Allenson getting a good getaway. Sam Warden, fantastic start all the way up into 5th place already. Gets around the outside of Sullivan, and that is a position gain, but Sullivan is fighting back. He has the inside line. There might have been a little bit of contact between the two. And now the 2 blue cars, the sky blue of the BMW ahead into turn number 3, but Sam Warden will look to capitalize on this. Absolutely, he had a great start, but Sullivan fought back into turn 2.
Absolutely beautiful start by Sam Warden there. So, sadly could not keep it as Sullivan getting his elbows out, and there goes Allenson. I wonder if there was a tap from one of the cars behind, all the drivers making sure to get out of the way of Allenson, allow Allenson on the track. And as I say that, oh wait, maybe, oh, that's a little bit of contact there. Both drivers managing to keep it going forward. You love to see that. A lot of dirt and gravel being kicked up. Allenson went off the track, so they're now have fallen down the grid. So now this is a battle for fourth now even, and that's to Santiago off the track. So now this is a battle for third. What in the world is happening? I guess I was correct. I guess they decided they wanted to do this now instead of later.
Yep, the predictions certainly held true. The chaos really starting out here in lap 1. We haven't even completed a full racing lap, but that's Allenson in the back, and Cloud, yellow flags in the back between the KTM and the Porsche. Hezi will try to benefit from that. The 59 able to get started from the pit lane. Fantastic to see that. And yeah, now this is a battle for the top 3. The Camaro of Sam Warden with a fantastic start, moving all the way up from 6th into 3rd in 1 lap's time. Just in 3 miles and 12 corners is able to get all that done. And Brian DeSantiago in the BMW in the back, looking to make a move on the inside of the Ginetta. Into turn 1 they go. The Ginetta forced a little bit wide onto the outside, taking the curbing, and the BMW sweeps through the inside to take 6th place away.
Beautiful move by Santiago into turn 1. I don't know, they must have ran wide on the exit down before the back straight. So they had a lot of work to do to regain, but here we go again. We now have Warden, Sullivan, Saunderson, and DeSantiago. We saw what happened last time all those two got together. We'll get a repeat of it again. And like we had in the first 10 minutes before, we have Emmanuel Ramirez and Matroni being the class of this race right now, getting away from everybody else, it seems.
Yeah, for now, it certainly is that way. 4.3 seconds is the gap between 2nd and 3rd place, Ramirez and Warden, respectively. But Ramirez is right on the tail of Matroni, and despite these guys battling at the front, they are still able to have tremendous pace and pull away from that final podium position. Sam Warden finding a little bit of pace, pulling a 2-second gap over Shane Sullivan. He himself has about 2 seconds to Chris Saunderson, but he is under pressure from Brian DeSantiago in the BMW, looking to go to the inside of turn 8. He gets that position. Saunderson, knowing DeSantiago qualified a little bit higher up, perhaps just letting the faster driver through in that sense. Good respect from both drivers. Brian DeSantiago sending it nice and early, letting Saunderson know he was going to make the move, and Saunderson respectfully moving off to the side and letting that position change happen. And now DeSantiago will look to chase down fellow BMW driver Shane Sullivan in front in 4th place, and this battle will certainly pick up in the coming laps. We know DeSantiago has the pace.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He absolutely has that pace, and I'd say probably by the 11:35 mark, Santiago will probably be on Sullivan, if not quicker, as we know that Santiago has that pace. However, Matroni and Ramirez just seem to have otherworldly pace compared to everybody else, as they've almost now cleared them 5 whole seconds away from Sam Warden, and that is the meme car of Nicholas Woods going off the track. Maybe a little bit of a tap by Speedy Bud there, not for certain, not going to say how. But Speedy Bud continuing their rise up the charts. They are now up to P8 again.
Yeah, that black Camaro just in the back of shot here as the Ginetta, the really small Ginetta, battling the much bigger Audi. And unfortunately, Speedy Bud mentioning, oh, and there's a tight battle, as Daly tried to send it around the outside, got a wheel into the grass, and that did not help his chances. And unfortunately, it looks like the 39 of Nicholas Woods has a yellow flag again on the exit of turn 4 this time, but still able to keep that car rolling as The battle now really picking up. The two BMWs will go side by side down the Bentley straight. Who will get the move done in to turn number 8? Sullivan not looking to give up, has the inside line. Will he take those sausages? He will not. Much respect between the two BMW drivers, still going side by side as they clear the bomb hole. That turn 10, and now the approach to turn 11. De Santiago on the outside sweeps through and gets the position, and now back on the racing line. And now Shane Sullivan dropping back into the position he started in 5th place. De Santiago making up positions early after that mistake early on. Now has about 2.5 seconds until he is on the back of that final podium position.
That was an absolute shove by Saunderson onto Daly. That was an absolute squeeze there. And and of course, as soon as I mentioned Spady Bud's rise up to P8, he goes off track and drops down to P11. So the curse, even though we were off for a week, seemingly continues on. And as well as what continues on is De Santiago's charge back up to P3. He's got Sam Warren about 3.5 seconds away, but at this pace, he's going to catch him.
Yeah, Sam Warden certainly showing a good bit of pace. We saw it on the rate. We've definitely seen it from that Camaro in the races past. Not an unfamiliar position for Sam Warden to be in, so he will certainly look to capitalize on all the pace that he can get out of that Camaro, currently sitting in 3rd place. Oh, and the BMW of De Santiago taking the curbs very heavily, bouncing the rear of the car, but is able to keep it under control and still keeps the position over Sullivan behind. This is a battle between the two Porsches. Sorry, go ahead.
And here we go, Vicente Morera trying to get, I believe that's Allenson. Yeah, I guess Morera has lost a few places because it says here that he's on P8 and he's P10. So he's obviously lost to Allenson. But who else has he lost to if he's down in, nope, there it goes, never mind, they just need to switch. So he's lost out to Allenson right now. So, but he's still within the realm of battle, but he does have the KTM of Cloud behind. So that's not out of the range of possibility for Cloud to maybe get an overtake here, going through the bomb hole and then going through the quad apex of this turn here, which still boggles my mind. If you get even one corner wrong, you're done.
Yeah, one little hiccup here and you're running super wide into a big open field, and that is really not helping your chances of recovering back onto the racing line. Good exit from the KTM out of the final corner. We'll see if the KTM can get that position and maybe sweep into the inside of turn 1, lining up a move at the moment, and we'll see just how defensive the Porsche decides to take it. Not quite enough of an overspeed advantage there for the KTM, electing to tuck back. And this battle will continue on for another lap, running a little bit wide, but saving it after clipping a wheel into the grass there.
Definitely not a situation you want to keep doing, especially when you have another car on your tail. And Matroni and Ramirez continue their battle. They're almost now 8 seconds ahead of Sam Morton, and De Santiago's got a full second on this gap right now. So continuing on is this absolute battle right now. So I'm interested to see where this goes as we almost hit the halfway mark. So I wonder what happens when we hit the halfway mark. Slowly press his finger over content button.
Yeah, certainly interesting to see what happens here. Matroni pulling a bit more of a comfortable gap, doesn't quite have the bumper of the Porsche on his rear wing here, but not quite far enough yet to where he can certainly breathe comfortably. Wants to pull any pace advantage he can out of that McLaren in front of Ramirez at the moment. We know the Costa Rica Racing Porsche has pace. The McLaren might have just run a little bit wide there. This top speed advantage will certainly help, but Ramirez confident in the exit. Gonna try to line up a move into turn 1. Let's see if he can get it done on this lap here. Not quite close enough to do it just yet. Looking on from the rear wing of the McLaren.
Keep pushing.
Race director letting us know we're at the halfway mark. The chaos button begins. 2 slow cars exiting the final corner, 3 slow cars, and the chaos has begun.
I wouldn't say the chaos begins just yet. Ramirez now has the fastest lap compared to what Matroni had last time, and Saunderson loses out to Vicente Morera. Vicente Morera gaining a place over Saunderson. Saunderson, I think they lost a few places. They were up near where Allenson was, were they not?
Yeah, Saunderson certainly comfortably in a much higher top 10 position than ninth, just dropping back down the order a little bit. Morera as well now behind the KTM of Cloud, and Daly in the Ginetta looking to get close to Allenson in the Porsche. Unfortunately, seeing a few off tracks from the number 76 out in front, dropping him out of 4th place, and really has the Ginetta for company behind. The Ginetta getting really close into braking and running too far into that braking zone as well. And now the KTM will look to pounce into the inside of turn number 7. The exit of the Bentley straight is crucial here, and the KTM seems to have absolutely nailed it and gets the speed. And now unfortunately the Ginetta dropping back into 8th place, and Cloud will look to chase down the Porsche in front now.
Yep, there's still a lot of racing to go with 8 minutes. DeSantiago's already within a second gap, so that battle's going to come on as Saunderson goes off the track along with Cloud. So that's a lost place for, well, actually, that's not really a lost place for Saunderson. They were already where they were. Yeah, they're already where they were. And then, yeah, I've lost track. There's so many people that just went off track at that moment. So I was just like, wait a minute. Like, my brain just stopped working. But yeah, going back to DeSantiago, he's less within a second of Warden. He's already on the back of Warden. So he absolutely can get this podium place, and the defense is on for Sam Warden. The Warden going to try and keep that P3 position.
Yeah, he certainly is. DeSantiago showing a great bit of pace here, nearly taking out a second a lap out of the Camaro in front for that final podium position. We'll ride on board with Brian DeSantiago just to take a look and see what it looks like from inside of that BMW. The Camaro running a little bit wide, but not quite close enough is the BMW yet to take advantage. A bit of a bumpy ride in the Camaro in front, braking pretty heavily into that corner. And now the sweeping right-hander before the short little straightaway before turn 7, the very important exit onto the Bentley straight. Oh, a bit of a bumpy ride from the 777, not able to get all the power down as efficiently as he would like, and that gap opening up a little bit to the Camaro in front into this good overtaking opportunity. If there is a good overspeed advantage, of course, certainly don't want to dive or send any silly moves into here because it's not that heavy of a braking zone. It really slows down into that next right-hander where that sausage curb really protects the inside and kind of prevents drivers from going side by side. But we've seen it before. DeSantiago and Shane Sullivan, the two BMWs, were able to go side by side pretty much through the entire section over there and almost continuing on into the final corner. And on this lap, Brian DeSantiago isn't quite able to get as close as he would like to that final podium position.
Definitely not as close as he would have wanted to. Ramirez thought about a move there, maybe on the number 5 McLaren, but nothing showing just yet. He is going to have to make a move eventually. There's 5 minutes left to go in this, about 5 minutes and change left to go in this session. It is very imperative that Ramirez, he's been sat on the back of this McLaren for 15 minutes. He's been studying every move, every braking zone, every slight turn of the wheel. Eventually, he's gonna have to make a move if he wants to win this race.
Yeah, he really does have to line up a move, but of course the best overtaking opportunities are after the longest straights on the grid, so I really don't see it happening unless he kind of sends it into one of these kind of smaller half-hearted corners. But he seems to have gotten a fantastic exit here, closer than he's been before, on the back of the McLaren in front, but not close enough to send it into turn number 8. Might do it into turn 9, and there's the tap. We've seen it in race 1, not as race damaging this time to Matroni. Ramirez able to avoid causing the carnage from last time out. Matroni maintains first place. Ramirez now dropping back to about 1 second. And there's a yellow flag between Santiago and Warden. Oh, and there was a tap on the back. Oh, Santiago just tapping the back of the Camaro. And that is certainly going to let the 617 BMW there. That's that light blue BMW going through and benefiting once again from all the chaos benefiting from the chaos around, not impacting their race. The 617 up into a podium position once again.
And you know where the contact occurred? In turn 8, right where that sausage curb is DeSantiago has done it again. They've created more contact there again, so it'll be interesting to see and to note, like, he'll be able to get past Warren, but now he's got to do the work again. He's now got to get past Shane Sullivan to get P3. So even if he gets past Sam Warden, he'll have to do it again.
Yeah, he certainly will. And the chants for the Camaro are going off in the chat, I should say. And we will see if Sam Warden can get back onto that podium position. We've seen him overtake Sullivan before, has to do it once again, but the time is now running out with just over 3 minutes left in the race. Our race leader is Matroni from Ramirez in second, and then Shane Sullivan is leading this battle of 3 cars for that final podium position. Sam Warden's in fourth, DeSantiago here in fifth, Allenson in the Porsche in sixth, under pressure from Jay Daly behind in the Ginetta, currently in 7th place. Cloud in the KTM in 8th. Moreira in a top 10 position in 9th place in the 84. Nicholas Woods is rounding out the top 10 at the moment. Thomas in the 59 in 11th place, and Saunderson, after running through the pit lane, is in 12th place in the Audi.
Definitely still some time to go here. So lots, and when I say lots of time, I mean 2 and change. So there'll be at least this lap and the next for the leaders, and there'll still be about 2 to 3 laps to go for the 3-4-5 group, and that is DeSantiago carrying a little too much speed, and again trying to be a little too advantageous, and goes wide. Now definitely not going to be able to catch Sam Morton for P4, so they will have to incline themselves for P5. Can the Ginetta maybe get past the Porsche here? Get a little slipstream effect and maybe get ahead of Allenson, but it looks like Allenson's going to do just enough to keep that position going into turn 1.
Yeah, the Porsche is certainly not known for its top speed, but the Ginetta is known for known for having even less top speed than the Porsche, so not very much of an advantage coming Daly's way, even after that slight wiggle on the exit. We'll have to make it up through the corner speeds and on corner exits going into the braking zones as well. We will see if Daly can maybe line up a move here. Has a little bit of a look to the inside and is now might slip into the inside. We've got a raid. Thank you very much for the raid. Hope you guys had a lovely stream. Hope it all went well. What sort of stream did you guys have? Let us know. We love to get involved with other sim racers and other communities alike. So thank you very much for throwing that raid. Thanks for the support from myself and the rest of Trackalicious.
Absolutely nice that you're rating in the final minutes left to go in this race. There'll be at least one more lap.
Give it the final push.
As the race control have noted, there'll be at least lap in this race to go. Sam Morton is trying to catch Shane Sullivan for that podium. I almost said Scott there for a minute. The dummy move there by Ramirez onto Matroni opens up the door, and they make contact once again. And I thought that was someone that could have actually led this race, I think. Wait, is it? No, that is the
that's
59
Thomas.
of Thomas. And then there's the 18 of Saunderson.
And again, the situation has a last, but this time there's a much bigger gap that'll allow Ramirez to give Matroni back the position. But if they make another contact again, Shane Sullivan is in a little bit of a more distance. They had a 23-second lead, my God.
Yeah, they were flying out in front, setting fast lap after fast lap after fast lap, and of course the tires going off a little bit, but their lap times still matching each other's at the top here. And yeah, like you mentioned, a bit of contact there, but good respect from both drivers. Oh, and there's contact further back. I believe that was the battle for 6th place between Allenson and the Janetta of Daily Cloud, benefiting from that, jumping the Janetta into 7th place. And this is the battle for that final podium position between Warden and Sullivan, with Ramirez and Matroni just up the road at the end of the Bentley Straight. Can Ramirez line up a clean move over Matroni here into the final few corners? Saunderson in front, certainly a bit of a distraction to the drivers, but I think he's just far enough up the road that they can take their corners the way they need to without him impeding in the way. And will there be one more send to the inside? There will in the final corner, and there's contact once again, but Matroni benefiting from that contact. Ramirez knows he sent it a little bit too hard, and good sportsmanship there from the Costa Rica Racing 157, letting Matroni through after the contact, and he takes race win in race 2. Shane Sullivan.
Warden got past.
Oh, he's got it. Sam Warden's got it. He got the position.
Sam Warden got past. The Camaro takes P3, and Sullivan loses out on the final corner. De Santiago will finish 5th. The KTM gets past Allison to take P6.
Absolute chaos there in the final.
Frustration.
Yeah, that was crazy in the final stages there.
What redemption for Matroni and I would think that was less redemption and more probably the fact that Ramirez didn't want to win that way. Vicente Herrera driving through the grass. Do I hear donuts in the background for the 617? Oh my goodness.
Those are donuts happening indeed. Shane Sullivan, the responsible party for the donuts. And we would like to invite all the podium sitters from race 1 and race 2. Join us in the green room. Tyler will pull you in. Nicholas Woods flying through the finish line to take P10 across the line. Saunderson will finish in 11th. Thomas across the line in 12th. Spady, Bud, Dutchy, and Franks not involved in the racing, but certainly not involved in any way, shape, or form at all. Franks is just a figment of, or a pigment of just our imagination there.
Green light, give it all you can.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Everything seems to, all the action seemed to come at the end again. Like, what is going on here? Like,
Yeah, it came at the beginning, and then there was a bit of a lull, and then the 10-minute mark certainly brought some more action at the end there. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy what happened in the last stages. 2 overtakes pretty much in those final few corners. And yeah, we will see if we can get those drivers in for some interviews. Let me know if there's anybody available at the moment, Tyler.
yeah, I'll yoink them into where they need to be, but at
Right
the moment,
on.
no one seems to be very chatty at the moment, which is a little bit upsetting.
Yeah, if you want to
Ramirez-
throw a thing in the rookies chat, maybe in the Discord, just to send them a bit of a reminder if they want to. Of course, they don't have to. It's not a necessary thing, so maybe just not feeling like talking tonight after how those races went down. But yeah,
So
now,
Ramirez in
yeah,
race
go right ahead.
1 will take P1. Shane Sullivan will take 2nd in P2, and then Allenson will take 3rd for race number 1. And then for race number 2, it was Matroni Ramirez finishing 2nd, so double podium for him. And then Sam Warren will take P3 away from Shane Sullivan. And we are going to have the double podium finisher Emmanuel Ramirez brought in now.
congratulations, Ramirez, on a win in race 1. Probably not the way you wanted it. And in race 2, you got second. You probably would have wanted the race win, but talk to me kind of what happened there. Like, I knew you were going to wanted to give back the position in race number 1, but I guess he was just too close for you to give that back. Oh, is he going to speak? Is the man going to be heard?
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
All right. Yeah, that's absolutely what happened. Well, I tapped him in the back, so I tried to give him back the position. I wait for like, I don't know, 1, 2, or 3 seconds, but the other guys were coming too close. And well, sometimes bad things happen, right? It's not the way that I would like to win, but well, it's what happened. Also in race 2, we have a little contact, and well, what happened? I give him back the position. He made a couple of mistakes in the last lap, but yeah, that sometimes happen. These kind of things while racing. So I think that in general it was a good race. Pretty fun to battle with this guy. I forget the name of this guy, but yeah, he's a pretty good driver. He's really fast. I was trying to chase him, but the McLaren in the straights are really fast. He was like, I was in his rear bumper, and when we went the straights, like he was like half a car ahead. So it was impossible at all. Well, also the turns are really close and well narrow, so it's kind of difficult to make an overtake on this track. Uh, in the last lap in second race, I also took a chance with the backmaker, but unfortunately, I touched his left side. So, anyways, I gave him back the position. Yeah, man, it was pretty fun race actually.
Definitely seemed like fun, at least from your point of view. I personally hate this track. How can you find some racing in this track, as it doesn't look like it's very fun to race at?
Well, being honest, I really like the track. It's kinda difficult, especially with the hairpins, right? If you miss your braking points, you're gonna go over to the turn. Well, being honest, I don't really know. I practice a lot for this track. I also get a little help of YouTube videos to a track guide, and well, the only thing to go fast and harder is like pushing, making a fail, pushing again. Well, at some point you're gonna be fast, especially in turn 1, right? It's really fast, but it's a kinda tricky turn. So I don't know. Let's see what happens next week. I think that is gonna be Watkins Glen. Hopefully, it's gonna be a better race for me. And yeah, that's it, man.
Well, thank you very much, Ramirez. Congratulations on your podium. And yes, we will see you next week at Watkins Glen. We are going to have, at this rate, we're going to have one more driver. And I'm going to believe that is going to be, I think that is a podium finisher from race number 1. That is going to be Shane Sullivan. Hello, Mr. Shane Sullivan. Nice to see you here in the stream room today. Congratulations on your podium in race 1 and just missing out on the podium in race 2. Let's talk about that. Did you get overtaken in the final corner there?
Yeah, I did. That was tough there. You know, it was a nice move though by the other car, by that Camaro. We had the back marker coming up in front, so I wanted to kind of play it a little safe. Just played it a little too safe, but he made a hell of a move there.
Definitely seemed like a beautiful move going into that final corner. And talk to me what happened in race 1. You just kind of got lucky, and the contact from Ramirez and Matroni kind of gave you that P2. Do you think maybe you could have gotten the win there, or do you think you were just didn't have the pace?
Yeah, I mean, I think the car felt good. You know, first career podium, so I'm definitely pleased with that performance there.
Heck yeah, congrats.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It was one of those things you saw what was coming a little bit. Just I figured if I could stay close enough to him, then maybe I could kind of get lucky with one of them. Didn't expect both of them to go sliding off there. I know, I've had my fun racing with both those guys. Sad to see that, but obviously more than happy to take advantage and get up there in P2 and kind of move things along for the season,
Yeah, we were mentioning during the broadcast, it was kind of like a quiet little heads down race. You were just maintaining your own kind of pace. You knew what you had and just kind of let the chaos unfold around you. So yeah, congrats, first career podium. That's a fantastic achievement here.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Snetterton's a weird track to say that I'm a kind of a fan of now. After last season's race there, I definitely was kind of on the fence. But after today, I can't wait to come back.
Heck yeah.
I refuse to believe that track is any form of good after the last time I raced there. Thank you very much, Mr. Shane Sullivan. We will see you next week when we go to Watkins Glen. How do you feel going into Watkins Glen?
Oh, I love the Glen. I'm not too far from there in the real world here, so I certainly enjoy that track. I love getting out in the Northeast, and I had a good performance there last week, so hopefully we can get the car into the right spot with the setup and get some more points. Hopefully another podium down the line.
I can hear the New York accent in your voice now that you speak about it more. So thank you so much for your time, and we will see you next week.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Have a great night.
Thank you. You as well. Yeah, we've got the GT4 Open starting their qualifying at the moment. Thanks again to the podium finishers who joined us in the green room, and Matroni, seeing you chat in here in Twitch. Congrats for finishing in P1 in race 2. Unfortunate in race 1, but nonetheless stuck it out, got the win in race 2. So happy to see you stick it out and stick with it for the remaining of the race. And now, yeah, let's get back to the track at Snetterton for the Open Series. We got qualifying underway here. This is Justin Beachley in the AMG, currently on an outlap. No times on the board just yet. Just approaching that 2-minute mark for all the drivers to approach that start-finish line to start their first flying lap attempt. Bit of a small grid here tonight, just 10 cars, 20-minute qualifying up ahead of us. All the drivers are free to go when they want. There is no separation of evens versus odds, just a full flat-out 20-minute session for all the drivers to try and set their fastest lap.
Should be 11. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Nairati. But nevertheless, the 10 drivers we have, all of them are very, very good in their own right. You have Austin Doyle, the man who has pace here from what I can see on these timing charts. You, at least in the practice sessions, you have Beachley, the man who was fighting for podiums earlier, seemingly lost his pace, but seemingly found it last week in the ring. Then you have Freeman, Torres, Kerbal. Sadly, no man, the myth, the legend, Ricardo Rivera in with us today, sadly. But you have Kerbal, Weaver, Doyle, Professor Canotas, Ilpo Ristelainen, Velez, and De Santiago, who's seemingly, sadly, struggled and had a lot of contact in the last race. And Nairati, I will not be silenced, especially by you.
Yeah, big shout out to Hezi there for having his first race go super well. I'm very happy to see that the keyboard's actually working out pretty well in ACC. Like I mentioned during that stream, I had one moment where my wheel failed and I had to get the car back to the pits using the keyboard, and it was like impossible. So big shout out to you for keeping that on track and all the support coming from your partner there. Super awesome to see in the chat. Love seeing that. Love seeing friends and family supporting each other here in that rookies race. And now we have graduated from the rookies to the open. Of course, the signups are open to anybody. We see a few of those rookie drivers here tonight as well. Santiago deciding to join the party once again for a 50-minute race. We know we've seen Austin Doyle in the rookies before, graduated this season to the Open Championship, and we have our first times on the board. Rolling through. Potts Weaver will be the first to cross the line in the 13 McLaren. What time will he set for the benchmark? It's a 156.4. The Aston Martin of Freeman behind in the 14, just about a tenth off the pace. And now we've got lap times flooding in here. The 395 and the 181 across the line now, with Justin Beachley not too far in the distance. Neil Kerbel in the 395 takes pole position. Justin Beachley slots into third, and Torres sits in fifth, with Freeman in fourth and Potts Weaver dropping to second.
I think you might see a surprise here. Austin Doyle definitely looks like they have pace in this track, as they raced it last year in the rookies. What pace and what lap time can he find? That's pretty close between Austin Doyle. He got his P2 in his first race in the Open this year, so he's already looking on pace to maybe keep that podium, as he's only 3/10 off of Neil Kerr.
Yeah, not too far off at all. Just, yeah, 2.5, 3/10 off. Not really close between the Porsche and the McLaren. We've seen it in the rookies that the McLaren, it certainly does have a good amount of pace here, as Velez completes a lap to get his 88 Camaro into 7th place. Chronotis, Rutsalainen, and DeSantiago still yet to set a lap, but they are trying to do so at the moment, with Chronotis coming up to the line in the 42 McLaren. And let's take an onboard lap with the professor and see if he can teach us a lesson on how to go around Snetterton. Turn 1 is a quick right-hand corner. Want to carry as much speed as you can. There's a bit of a straightaway here before the hairpin of turn 2 called Montreal. Turning over to the right, a 180-degree corner. The track turns back on itself before a quick and sharp left-handed corner here, dropping a gear before pitching the car in, very gentle on the gas before going full throttle between turns 3 and 4. Turn 4, another very tight hairpin corner, not quite as tight as Montreal, but still a very challenging exit here. Don't want to run too wide. And the approach to turn 5, a tire barrier preventing you from going and cutting the track to the inside, running a perfect amount of wide and a bit deep on the brakes here, but getting onto the power very strong before the small little straightaway, before the sweeping corner of turn 7, before the blast down the Bentley straight, one of probably the longest straight on the track here at Snetterton, before approaching the bridge, and that is the sector 3 marker. He just has one sector to go. Very quick left-hand corner here at turn 8 before sweeping back to a 90-degree to the right. Big sausage curb protecting the inside line there before going into the bomb hole of turn 10. A lot of pitch and elevation sweeping through the apex there. And now this quadruple corner of turn 11, a bit of curbing there, marking where you want to go. Certainly want to place the car to the right before trying to carry as much speed through the final left-handed corner. And how high can Chronotis get the 42 McLaren as he goes to the line? No lap set so far. Will this one be valid? It will. But he maintains 9th place, a 158.462 on that lap for the professor.
Definitely a situation interesting. That's interesting, but it's completely unrelated to the race. Austin Doyle has provisional pole right now. That is something surprising.
Yep, he certainly does. Kerbal race program, though, in the 395, trying to change things. Currently on a lap here. We'll see if it's a valid one as he comes up to the line. Just 500ths is separating the McLaren of Neil Kerbal and Austin Doyle on provisional pole at the moment. A slightly slower lap time this time around from the Kerbal race program McLaren, but still plenty of time left. Just over halfway into the session, or just over half, or over, oh my gosh, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. 11.5 minutes left in the session. Plenty of time for them to improve on that time.
Oh, absolutely. Still plenty of time to get involved and maybe snag away that provisional pole, as you have Chronotis pulling off to the side of... That's fine, he can do that. There's 11 minutes left to go. Get qualifying, get fresh tires, and continue on. Then you have Ilpo heading to the line. they have the same lap time as Potts Weaver now.
Yep, identical lap times between P6 and P7. Potts Weaver, though, setting that lap time first will keep him in front for that position, even though their lap times are matching. Neil Kerbal, yeah, just a bit shaky on the exit there with the Bentley straight here and just one sector to go in the McLaren. A popular choice of car here. 4 of our 10 drivers tonight choosing the McLaren. Of course, the car change is not available to the Open Series as it is to the rookies, as Neil Kerbal, unhappy with that lap, just going to pull off to the side of the road, return to the garage, put on some fresh tires, and go out once again.
Still halfway to go through this qualifying session, so he can absolutely do that. DeSantiago currently finding themselves in a pretty good position. Now, that's always something I've wanted to talk about with chat and also with you, Kuja. Do you feel like being in the rookie series and then racing in the open gives you an advantage? Because, like, to be honest, I don't feel like it does.
I think it just depends on the driver and who you are and what kind of racing you enjoy. If you use the rookies as a warm-up race to this kind of longer stint that you have planned out, maybe experiment with a few racing lines and certainly learn the track a little bit more, you know, and just kind of, I feel like it just depends on the kind of, on the driver and it is certainly a time commitment too. That is an hour long that you are sitting behind the sim or the keyboard or with the controller in your hand, you know, so it is a pretty good amount of time commitment that these drivers are taking out, and certainly all the hours they put in before putting in the practice laps. We see them churning out practice laps constantly throughout the week. Everybody's always checking them just to see how they're doing and relative to each other, and it's always fun to see the competitiveness kind of portrayed in that aspect as well, getting those laps in, trying to improve as much as possible. And yeah, even in the rookies and in the open too, we see them constantly producing practice laps, comparing themselves to others. Well, not necessarily comparing themselves, but, you know, just seeing kind of where they rank relatively in the field. And so, yeah, it's always interesting to see those times. In practice, they're always super close too, and you never know whether somebody's practicing their race pace or qualifying pace. So everything really comes down to how well you do when it comes down to the hour-long session we have here tonight.
Hour, 15 minutes, yeah, it's the same thing, to be honest with you. But, like, I guess the thing that's, like, for me, you kind of know after the first race battles are and who the people you're going to face throughout the season is, and you try your best to be ahead of them. And sometimes you may find yourself in a position where you're actually ahead of the person where you're like, certain tracks you have better pace versus some tracks you don't. Like, I guess, for example, for me, if the Red Bull Ring ever comes on, you might see me out on track. That's my favorite track. I'm not going to get it on Tuesdays because I decided to do something a little over egregious, but we'll talk about that at another time. But again, it's just, for me, like, DeSantiago definitely has pace in the rookies, but in the open, you have drivers like Austin Doyle, Ricardo Rivera, Kerbal, Ilpo, Freeman, Beachley. So, like, you kind of know, like, you're one of the top contenders in the rookies, but then to go to the open and not be a back marker, I say that's a little bit rude, but not be in contention where you are in the rookies, I think that would, like, you gotta try and not let that affect your psyche, but I feel like that would be difficult.
Yeah, it's certainly, yeah, I get where you're coming from too, but of course the rookies know that they're coming from the rookies series, and Sug mentioning it here, he feels more confident and consistent for the open. And yeah, it kind of feels that way. You've got those 20 minutes of racing to where you can really feel out the track and a few of the other drivers, as Ilpo here coming up to the line in the 666 Camaro, currently in 7th place. We've seen him qualify pretty high up in the top 3, gains a position a few tenths quicker on that last lap, a 156.152 for the Bomber Camaro there, the dark green forest livery of Ilpo. Kind of matching the fields here. Very good camo disguise from Ilpo, knowing the setting here that Snetterton's kind of in a big field. Of course, it did used to, most British tracks were Royal Air Force fields, or runways, I should say, where they used them mostly during the wars to take off and stuff, and converted them now into racetrack. Silverstone, of course, the same, and I believe a few others. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. But then, yeah, Donington, famous for being right next to an airport. Even in ACC, in the sim, there's planes flying over, pretty low overhead to the airport that's nearby there. And so a lot of history between airports and racetracks in British racing.
I don't want to think about British tracks. All the British tracks for me always have a little bit of a shaking feeling in my hand. I'm never good at them. That just might be a skill issue more than anything else in this world. Right now, it seems that like the top three are separated by less than a second, and then Freeman and Weaver are separated by less than a second, and then Ilpo's not far off from them, neither is Beasley. So like, it's pretty much anyone's game to finish anywhere, and it's 5 minutes left to go. So some decisions to be made here quite soon. Like,
yeah, Torres just put in a fantastic lap too. He's within a 100th in that 181. So it's, yeah, super close between everybody now. Ilpo getting in the mix as well. Beachley, we know, certainly has a strong race pace. So does Alex Freeman, who likes to take that early pit stop. And of course, the pit stop will certainly come into play. That'll be a contributing factor in the race. Sorry to cut you off there a little bit, but yeah, De Santiago not too far off Justin Beachley's pace, about a second, but we saw on his laps there, not quite able to put the pace down. On to the final straight goes Neil Kerbel. Can he take pole position away from Austin Doyle? Crosses the line, not able to improve on his lap time quite yet.
Just a little bit too far away. Kerbel's really pushing the limits of that car. Austin Doyle going into the pits. If he wants to get a lap in, he's going to have to come out pretty much almost right then and now. So, or do you think he's... I wouldn't feel comfortable being less than half a tenth up on my nearest competitor, but maybe he thinks Kerbel can't beat that time. So, going to be interesting to see if Kerbel can in fact beat that time. And then Ramon Torres also in contention there as well. So still 3 minutes left to go in qualifying. It's anyone's game here, but times are tumbling, and I feel like you want to be on track at least to get the checkered flag so that you don't miss out.
Yeah, certainly the case, but of course with the GT4s there's no tire warmers, so it would take a couple of laps for Austin Doyle to get everything up to the right temperature and the right pressure, and certainly wouldn't have his fastest flying lap attempt on the second go around after the outlap. So perhaps just electing to take a bit of a break and get the car ready for the race. Neil Kerbel, though, will look to change things up as he goes through the final sector into turn 10, the bomb hole as it's called, before the very long sweeping right-hander of turn 11, for a very sudden braking zone before turn 12, that 90-degree corner, really pushing the cars wide here before blasting down the Senna straight. Again, crossing the line. Can Neil Kerbel improve and take pole position away? He can't. He's so close to matching his lap time. He needs a blink of an eye's worth to improve on and take that position away from Austin Doyle, but he just doesn't have the time just yet in the bag.
So close, yet so far away for Mr. Neil Kerbel. It's within touching distance. It's so close. Professor Cronotis currently leads the back of this 10-car pack. He's not that far away from... Actually, yeah, he is from... It's interesting to see that McLaren doesn't seemingly have pace compared to everybody else, but maybe he just hasn't gotten a good, clean lap in. This will be the time. This will be the chance for Professor Cronotis, and he goes wide. So not only is he going to lose out on this lap, but he's compromised his next lap by not getting a good exit. So he'll have to make up his time everywhere else, and this will be his final go.
Yeah, certainly will. With under a minute left, he will not be able to go around again, so this will be his last flying lap attempt. Same with Ramon Torres, not setting a valid lap on his last attempt. This will be his last flying lap attempt to try and change the order of the top three, with all top three within 100th of a second of each other. Austin Doyle leading the way from Neil Kerbel and Ramon Torres. Alex Freeman currently sitting in 4th place. Can Ilpo change that though? In the Camaro now, up to the line. Can he improve his time? He does improve his time by just a smidgen, but he is not able to improve the position. Still needs to improve on that time if he wants to get up into the top 5, and I think he did cross the line before the checkered flag, so he is able to go around again. Neil Kerbel though, crossing the line, not able to improve. Second is the best that McLaren can do, unless Ramon Torres or Ilpo or Justin Beachley, the last 3 out on track, can change things. And Ilpo running wide, invalidating the lap, and that will be, unfortunately, the session over for the 666 Camaro. Alex Freeman in the pits. Justin Beachley up to the line. Ramon Torres pulling over. His session is done. Justin Beachley not able to improve on his best lap attempt at the end there. Will start in 7th place, exactly 6 tenths off of the pole position time of Austin Doyle. The 42, Professor Chronotis, the McLaren, currently in 10th, up to the line. No track limits on the final corner. Can he improve his position? And he cannot. Just electing to dive into the pits. And it looks like Velez was actually able to sneak in before the checkered flag waved as well. So just 1 sector left. Let's ride on board with the Camaro and see how he negotiates this tricky chicane of turn 8 and 9 before the bomb hole at turn 10, and then that sweeping quadruple apex at turn 11 coming up, dipping into the apex here, and then a long right-hand corner, lifting off the throttle, playing with the brake a little bit, a very delicate balancing act before slamming onto the brakes, cutting as much as he can. A bit of an oversteer, but not too much. Able to get the power down. Can Velez improve up from 9th? Needs about 8 tenths to do so. Where will he finish when he crosses the line? Still gonna be in 9th place. And that is our 20-minute qualifying session completed. Now it is time for the 50-minute race.
Definitely gonna be interesting, especially with the top 7 seemingly all have pace between one another, especially the top 3. So definitely gonna be a battle to see who wins the podium, and especially who wins. But it's not, as you can see from the grid, there's not a lot of cars, so strategy may not be necessarily as important here.
Yeah, we'll certainly have to wait and see how that plays out. Of course, in this 50-minute race for the Open Championship, there is a mandatory pit stop in which the drivers must come in and refuel for a time of 25 seconds. It is then the driver's choice to add an additional 5 seconds to that pit stop to take fresh tires and have that advantage over their competitors, but may lose out on track position. And so that'll certainly be interesting to see how that comes into play later on. We've seen it from a few drivers in the past come into play, where we know Alex Freeman likes to pull all that early pit stop early, just repeating words there, and yeah, just comes into the pits, gets clean air behind, and kind of uses that to his advantage, knows he has good pace, doesn't battle, and keeps it clean, keeps that pace going. And here is the starting grid for our round 6 around Snetterton in the GT4 Open Series. On pole position, the former rookie promoted to pro, Austin Doyle, Doyle Most Sport number 11 Porsche, putting it on pole position. Just 500ths clear of Neil Kerbel, though. The Kerbel race program 395 will start on the front row in second place. Ramon Torres in the 181 McLaren, also very close lap time, within 100th of pole position, will start on the second row in third place. Keeping him company on the second row is Alex Freeman in the AF Sport Aston Martin, the number 14. It's got a pretty good qualifying pace there, I believe about 4/10 off of the pace, but we know the race pace is strong, as well as it is with Potts Weaver in the number 13. Potts Autosport starts in 5th place, has Ilpo Ruotsalainen for company in the 666, the Bomber Camaro, the 666s, and then add another 6 starting in 6th place. Justin Beachley in the AMG, the Beach GT, the Cat livery, the number 18 starting in 7th place. Brian DeSantiago, the rookie, racing in the Open Series as well. The NPG Racing 777 starts in 8th place. Eric Velez will be on the last row of the grid in the PREC number 88 Camaro. Keeping him company, the Professor himself. Professor Chronotis, Trackalicious LSR 24-hour number 42 will start at the back of the grid in 10th place.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah,
This
super
is
tight.
Going to be exciting. I can't wait to see how this goes. Honestly, I think Freeman's idea of maybe pitting lap 1 might not be the worst idea. Snetterton might destroy your tires, but there's definitely a chance there, I feel like.
Yeah, it's certainly possible, depending on what sort of battles he finds himself in during the first part of the race. I wouldn't say you want to pit necessarily on lap 1, but certainly get a good feel for the cars around and just kind of see how the race evolves from there. And yeah, like you mentioned, good pace pretty much all around from 1st to 7th place. Pretty much everybody in that list has finished in the top 5, if not even on the podium before in the GT4 series. So really strong competition here in the top 7. Brian DeSantiago, the first of the rookies at the back. Velez and Chronotis as well will certainly keep him company and keep him honest. We've seen a bit of a messy couple of rookies races, to say the least. Just not quite picking out the right braking points in a few corners, going a little bit wide, and certainly DeSantiago will look to make amends to that and have a much cleaner race here in the Open Series.
Oh, I almost thought they were driving for a minute because of how fast they're going, but nope, they're just going the regular speed, just casually driving, warming up the tires as they have no tire blankets, warming up their brakes, doing whatever they need to do. Doyle weaving back and forth. He is gonna have a defense on his hands. Those McLarens are absolute beasts right now. They are the meta, they are the alpha, they are everything that they want them to be. Doyle's gonna have a really hard time defending that from Ramon Torres and Neil Kerbel, who are both very good GT4 drivers. So if Austin Doyle wants this win, he's gonna have to earn it.
Yeah, he sure is. The McLarens have a great top speed advantage. We saw the flip in the reverse race where the McLaren was in front of the Porsche, but now Austin Doyle has a chance to change that around as they approach, the drivers that is, approach the final corner of the track in zipper formation, 2x2 from 1st to 10th. And we are certainly in for an exciting race. Despite the small grid, Snetterton certainly knows how to provide action for us, especially with how tight we've seen the lap times between the top 3 going all the way down to Professor Chronotis. It's certainly going to be pockets of battles throughout. Down the Senna straight they go before the green light will release them for the 50-minute race we have ahead.
Green line, give it all you can.
Neil Kerbel pretty much ahead from the start already. Austin Doyle really caught out of position. The 181 might even sweep around the outside, but Austin Doyle's not having any bit of it. Neil Kerbel, fantastic start to get around the Porsche. The Porsche just not quite into position. Oh, and that's Potts Weaver facing the wrong way at turn 1, but he's getting it turned around and getting it going is the number 13. Ilpo also running a little bit wide at turn 1, but maintains that position. And now a little bit of side-by-side action. Austin Doyle running a little bit wide. This will give Ramon Torres a good opportunity into the inside, and he's already ahead and pulls into the racing line. Austin Doyle, not a good opening lap from him so far, dropping a few places. The McLarens now have a bit of room to stretch their legs, show the pace that they really have. Then Austin Doyle will look to recover and take what he can now in third place.
Definitely not the run that Austin Doyle wanted there. Little unfortunate now. He finds himself in the P3 position. The pit lane window is open, so the drivers can take their pit stop now if they absolutely wanted to. However, we may not see a lot of those drivers, if any drivers at all, to be honest with you. It all depends on what the driver thinks, but it's a little bit of a heartbreak early for Austin Doyle, finding themselves out of the race lead and now into P3, but there's still lots of time in this race left to go, almost 2 whole minutes. But Neil Kerbel needs this race win to keep pace with Ricardo Rivera in the championship, and he so far has that right now, but Austin Doyle looks to attack Ramon Torres right now.
Yeah, this is a good opportunity at the exit there, or mostly into the braking zone, I should say. The McLarens have that top speed advantage and will certainly capitalize on the Porsche there going down the Senna straight. But the Porsche with that nimble chassis has a very good advantage in that infield section of Sector 2 and kind of the end here of Sector 1 through this tight hairpin. Alex Freeman still maintaining position over the 666, who was able to get a position from the start after Potts Weaver unfortunately having that incident into turn 1. Ilpo benefiting from that. The 666 right on the tail of the Aston Martin, but doesn't want to look to take too many risks with Justin Beachley in the 18 AMG, not too far off as well.
Definitely not too far away, especially as already on lap 2. These drivers still a little bit close. Ilpo looking to get the Aston Martin of Freeman, Beachley not too far behind. Then you have 7, 8, 9, 10 forming that little group in the background. Kerbel trying their best to get away from Ramon Torres and Austin Doyle as they have their own little battle, it seems there. So plenty of time for these drivers to figure out what they want to do. Honestly, don't make a mistake early on. Kind of just sit back and follow. There's still this isn't the rookies. There's 50 minutes of driving, unlike the 20 in the rookies, and that is DeSantiago going a little bit wide, but that shouldn't hurt him.
Yeah, just a little bit wide, still able to keep that 7th place. The 777 moving up into 7th, and now another 7 added to that number. We saw the 666 being 6th, so there's a lot of number matching going on here, but Ilpo benefiting from the start, moving up into that top 5 position. Alex Freeman just in front in 4th, Beachley behind in 6th. Austin Doyle still right on the tail of Torres in the foreground of the picture here, and he will try up to capitalize on any mistake that Torres might have in front. Ilpo going a little bit on the attack / defense. Kind of hard to tell whether he was trying to attack Freeman or defend from Beachley behind, but these three still lined up the way they were to start the lap. Freeman from Ilpo from Beachley.
Great defense so far by Freeman. He's defending so well that Beachley's having a sniff at Ilpo here. So again, like, honestly, we come to the argument of, if you're Ilpo, are you focused on the attack or are you focused on the defense? it's always hard being the car in the middle because your decision making is a little bit skewed because obviously you want to get up ahead. The best defense is a great offense from what I hear. But in this case, I think a great defense is a great offense, especially with Snetterton. The tracks are prone to forcing mistakes. So this is the opportunity that Ilpo is kind of looking for. He's hoping that Freeman makes a mistake so that way he only has to worry about Beachley. But right now, I think Beachley is a little bit closer than Ilpo is to Freeman. So I would work on that defense more than I would work on the offense.
Yeah, right now it just seems like the track is giving and taking depending on what car they're in. The chassis of these cars are pretty similar, but ever so slightly different between the Aston Martin leading this three-way battle for fourth, from the Camaro, from the AMG. Three different manufacturers they're battling it out. The two McLarens out in front from the Porsche of Austin Doyle, then the BMW of De Santiago in seventh. Behind this battle, Ilpo might have a really good run here. Alex Freeman taking the defensive line. Oh, and there's contact between the two. The brake marker gets taken out, and I hope Alex Freeman was able to keep it out of the wall. Lots of field there, and he sweeps into a really wide hairpin arrangement there, is able to get the position on track ahead of Chronotis, so that'll drop him back into 8th place after that contact between Ilpo and Alex Freeman.
Beachley just says, thank you very much. I will take that position from you. And De Santiago also benefited as well. So him being on the receiving end of that, he'll be about that. But I think for me, that might personally, in my commentator's opinion, personally probably be on Freeman there. I think Freeman just drifted a little too into the path of Ilpo there, because Ilpo had made it known that that's where he was going, and Freeman, again, he probably didn't notice, just kind of drifted into his path, and he just decided, you know what, I'm gonna take a wider hairpin.
Yeah, and just with the way the cars were lined up, his rear quarter panel just got tapped, and that forced all of that to unfold. And yeah, Justin Beachley, De Santiago, and Velez as well in the 88 Camaro, benefiting from that. The 88 is now up into 6th place. Ruotsalainen dropping to 7th with Freeman in 8th. But Ruotsalainen is right on the tail of the fellow Camaro driver to try to take that position back and get into a strong top 5 finish for Ilpo.
Definitely a situation where Ilpo's now going to have to get past Velez. Velez, a driver that we don't see very much, kind of too often here. Ilpo not taking any risks. He knows that Velez doesn't have... Ilpo knows he has the pace. He just needs to be confident. He just needs to wait and find that chance to get past Velez, and then next up will be De Santiago. But right now, it's all about the waiting game for Ilpo, trying to find a move, trying to find a position.
Yeah, certainly a bit of the waiting game, especially with the two cars being the same manufacturer, so not anywhere on track where one manufacturer will benefit from the other. Oh, and a bit wide on the exit is Velez, bouncing his Camaro on the exit of turn number 5 before turn number 5, that is, and that allows Ilpo to slide on through, and he is going to try to chase down the BMW in front after that bit of contact into turn 2 between himself and Freeman. Found Ilpo dropping back a few places, and Alex Freeman also coming into picture there, not too far off of this battle between the Camaros in 8th place.
Absolutely. Ilpo happy that Velez went wide. Obviously, we don't like to see it. We want to see some racing. But what a move there by what a move by Ilpo to just stay calm, get the position. Now he's going to try and chase De Santiago here for this top 5 position. De Santiago going to try and desperately hold on to it. And so far, nothing seems to change right now. for the order. Everyone's kind of starting to gap each other out right now.
Yeah, certainly that's the case. Neil Kerbel 3.3 seconds out in the lead in the McLaren from Ramon Torres, fellow McLaren driver in second place, pulling a bit of a gap to pole sitter Austin Doyle in the Porsche. Not too far off though, still keeping the McLaren driver in second honest, and Justin Beachley finding a little bit of pace in that AMG, just taking a tenth or so at a time away from Austin Doyle. So that battle for the final podium position might certainly pick up in the closing stages of the race. Still plenty of time to go. Just over 10 minutes have gone by in the race, and no drivers have served those mandatory pit stops yet. Potts Weaver on the tail of Professor Chronotis now. This is the battle for 9th place. Oh, and right as we get to the back of Chronotis, he hits the curb and is tapped a little bit by Potts Weaver, and he gets that position now. And the McLaren versus McLaren battle will go the favor of Potts Weaver. The whole field is in a bit of a McLaren sandwich right now. Got Neil Kerbel and Torres, the two McLarens up top. Chronotis and Potts Weaver, the two McLarens in 9th and 10th at the moment. And then a whole mix of ingredients in the middle. The Camaros having a battle earlier on, but now it looks like Ilpo was able to pull out a 1.3 second gap from Eric Velez in the 88 sister Camaro. Alex Freeman 1.7 seconds back from that battle, and so he will also look to capitalize on any mistakes if Eric Velez does the same that he did with Ilpo the lap before.
Definitely unfortunate for Professor Chronotis, but they were seemingly struggling most of this race, and it's just unfortunate that that curve has come back to bite them. And so far, Kerbel has gotten away from Torres, gotten away from, and yeah, it's just unfortunate for Doyle there. Very unfortunate that they're now down in P8.
Oh, what happened to Doyle?
I thought you said something about that.
I did not say anything about that. What happened to Doyle?
Doyle's now down in P8.
Oh my goodness, what happened there? Yeah, really slow lap on that last time out. Yeah, unfortunately, Austin Doyle dropping down the order in P8 here. And yes, that is a very unfortunate thing for our pole sitter. Man, oh man, it's definitely too far now to go back to the replay, but that is just very unfortunate from Austin Doyle.
I'm going to have to guess that they hit the curb or something like that in order to get that and get that position. But
wow.
Doyle does have pace, so he can definitely find himself back up to at least, I think, P5 or P4. But the gaps from P1, 2, 3, 4 is already so big. Ilpo is going to try and catch De Santiago, but if I'm De Santiago, maybe throw yourself in the pits, maybe go for an undercut here.
Yeah, it's possible. Race strategy now certainly going to come into play with a few drivers taking a few spins. Certainly might have picked up a couple of flat spots. Alex Freeman, nice and early into the pits, just the way he likes to do it around the 14-minute mark of the race. The Aston Martin, the lone Aston Martin of the grid tonight, the number 14, finds himself in the pit lane to serve that mandatory pit stop. Typical Alex Freeman to come in the early stages of the race here.
Freeman pitting before everybody else. It's almost as if that's the norm here in Trackalicious. Santiago's not gonna have very much comfort because in comes the bomber, in comes Ilpo, looking to try and get into that top 4 position now that Doyle has seemingly fallen back. Doyle's at least gotten past Potts Weaver now, so they find themselves in P7, but that is also because Freeman pit. Oh, Ilpo wants it. He's gonna have to be patient though.
Who's going to have the better exit? That's going to be key here in this battle. Down the back straight they go. Ilpo is going to look for DeSantiago. He's going to sniff it. He's going to breathe it. But I don't think it's the time just yet. Ilpo's going to have to wait. DeSantiago going to try and hold on to this P4 position, but it's almost going to look like a losing battle. Ilpo just looks like they have the better pace.
Yeah, Ilpo qualifying a little bit higher than DeSantiago, just falling back after a bit of an incident. And yeah, you're right, certainly have a bit more race pace, having a faster best lap of the race so far. Has a really good overspeed advantage here over the BMW, but elects to do the opposite and just goes into the pits. The 666, the second driver into the pits from 5th place.
I think that's a great move by Ilpo there. I think that's a beautiful move to just dive into the pits and get the undercut going.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens between Alex Freeman and Ilpo Ruotsalainen here as well. They were pretty close after the incident. Freeman just falling back a little bit, but a pretty good stop from Alex Freeman, finding himself back out on track and swapping positions with Professor Chronotis. Oh, and there's a bit of damage, it looks like, on the McLaren. Unfortunately, the Professor looks like picked up a bit of a knock on the front of that McLaren. Looks like the hood has just popped up a little bit, and yeah, and I think the Professor is going to dive into the pits on this lap to get that fixed. Ruotsalainen rolling out of the pit lane. Where is Freeman going to come out? Ruotsalainen comfortably in front, but Alex Freeman having the pace, qualifying in the top 5, will certainly look to get his race going again, and not too far off of Ruotsalainen there. That 8.4 is a bit of a delayed. It's more around 3 seconds, the gap between these two.
Definitely a situation where if Freeman has a good few laps and Ilpo kind of struggles on if Ilpo did pick up fresh tires, definitely a situation where Freeman can find himself closer to Ilpo, but Ilpo does have the pace advantage. And I think now that you've seen one driver pit, you're going to see a whole bunch of others. Chronotis is going to pit most likely for damage repair, and we'll see if any of the other drivers decide to pit.
Yeah, certainly interesting to see what happens. About 9 laps into the race, DeSantiago going into the pits a lap after Ilpo. Ruotsalainen was getting on the tail for that battle, so that will certainly be interesting to see where the 777 comes out relative to the 666, and Alex Freeman in the 14 as well, showing pretty good pace in that clean air from behind so far, and so we will just have to wait and see the advantage this might or might not give Alex Freeman. Pitting early, taking that fresh tire advantage. Maybe, maybe not. It's hard to tell. Its pit stop was exactly 30 seconds, but may have elected to fix the damage on the car instead. Ilpo's pit stop a little bit longer at 32.5 seconds, so maybe he took tires and fixed a bit of damage in front. Brian DeSantiago rolling out of the pits, and Alex Freeman and Ilpo Ruotsalainen are both going to get the position on the 777 BMW.
The undercut works every time. Good work by Freeman for the undercut, and I told DeSantiago maybe the better situation would be to pit so you don't lose time, and look what's happened. He's lost 2 places because of it.
Yeah. Oh, Russ Gamer, thank you for the follow. Much appreciate the support. Thanks for following along. Got 30 and a bit minutes left in our GT4 Open race tonight around Snetterton. This is round 6 of 8 in the Spring Championship for the GT4 series in ACC. The rookies were on a little bit earlier in their 20-minute doubleheader, and now this 50-minute race here between the Open drivers, a bit under the halfway mark, about 20 minutes into the race so far. About half the grid has stopped for their mandatory pit stops, and still half yet to go as well. Ilpo in the 666 Camaro, more comfortably now out in front, I would say, from Alex Freeman. That gap has grown to around 4 seconds, so the Camaro really showing its pace after the pit stop.
Yeah, definitely a situation where Freeman's going to try his best to get Ilpo, or at least get close enough to Ilpo. But I think Freeman's just more concerned about getting their laps in and getting very good laps, so that way they can stave off, so that way he can undercut any more drivers inside the pit. Austin Doyle now finding himself fourth with both pit stops from Ilpo, Freeman, and DeSantiago. So he is climbing up the order, but other drivers have pits. So we'll see where he goes after his post-pit stop.
Yeah, oh, and dipping a wheel into the grass on the entry, drifting the Porsche around turn 7 before the Bentley straight. He was able to get by Eric Velez on the previous lap. And now the Camaro and the Porsche swap positions. And yeah, now about 14 seconds on to the back of Justin Beachley, and there will certainly be cars in between them that have already pitted. Ilpo being the lead runner of those who have done that, or who have done their mandatory pit stop, I should say, and now just leaving the rest of the field out there in the closing, no, not really closing, just kind of midway mark of the race so far. Battles on different points of the track going on. Neil Kerbel, though, pretty comfortably in the lead, 7 seconds out in front of Ramon Torres, does also have the fastest lap of the race. Justin Beachley avoiding the carnage and just having a good race so far, up in a podium position in that AMG. And Austin Doyle here, the pole sitter, unfortunately dropping back down the grid. Not quite sure what happened there in the Doyle Mosport Porsche, but recovering pretty well. We know he has pace, and certainly showing that now. Lots of clean air in front, so just needs to put in a lot of clean lap times while he can.
Yep, just focus on getting that lap time done. At least I've adopted kind of the Freeman strategy when it LF pit early and just kind of like, you know, just do my laps and then undercut everybody else. So he seemingly, it's a strategy that does work when you're racing with some other drivers. So hopefully it continues on for Freeman. It'll be interesting. Again, we're just waiting to see when these other drivers will pit, and then we can really get a grasp on like where everybody is going to withstand at each other. And again, pitting for clear air always seems to work regardless of who you're racing against. So Velez finding himself in a good position, but again, other drivers have pitted and still need to pit.
Yeah, Potts Weaver being one of those drivers in the number 13 McLaren, getting on the tail after having that turn 1 incident, getting maybe spun, maybe a bit of contact. Not sure quite what happened, but nonetheless facing the wrong direction was the McLaren after turn 1 on lap 1, but recovering well, getting to within 2 seconds of Eric Velez for this battle for 5th place on track. The McLaren will certainly try to do those clean laps now as Austin Doyle and Eric Velez both come into the pits, releasing Potts Weaver into all that clean air in front.
Off Potts Weaver goes, continuing on their merrily journey. As you said, got spun around turn 1, unlucky. So far, riding a nice race as it goes. It'll be interesting to see where Ilpo and Freeman come out as they are approaching now the quad, as Ilpo gets through the bomb hole as a bomber. That's funny. Heads through the quad apex in the final turn. I think he'll get past both Velez and Doyle. It'll be interesting to see where Freeman comes out, though, comparatively to all this. We're just waiting to see when that yellow 1 turns into a green. Ilpo will take both of those positions without trouble. Doyle finally gets to go. Doyle pulls out. He's actually not that far from the pit limiter line, though. As he crosses the line, he crosses the pit limiter line. Freeman is gonna get ahead of him. An undercut again by Freeman.
Yeah, it's another position gained for Alex Freeman after coming in for that early pit stop. Again, really not too far off from Ilpo in front, keeping him honest.
We're halfway through. Keep it up.
And there, the race director letting us know that we're at that halfway minute mark. The top 4 still yet to pit. Neil Kerbel in front, from Torres, from Beachley, from Potts Weaver. Ilpo leading the charge of those who have pit. And speaking of our race leader, Neil Kerbel in the pits.
The top 3 all pit.
All 3 of them are pitting on this lap. Look at that. Well, now it's a battle of how well you know the pit lane and how well you know where to stop your car for those marks, for those air jacks to lift up perfectly. And wow, look at that. A strategy call.
And
all
Potts
the same.
Weaver pits.
And look at that. The halfway mark triggering a lot of action in all the races tonight. It triggered a lot of chaos in the rookies. And in this race, it just triggers the pit stops.
Well, there went any form of pit stop battling or strategy that goes for us out the window. So, well, I guess we'll just have to we'll have to just rely on the racing. Beachley is out before Ramon Torres. Interesting. Maybe Ramon Torres is taking tires. Because I don't think Ramon Torres had damage. At least I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. He did have a slightly long pit stop though, so just maybe not finding his marks as well as Justin Beachley here, but he certainly did not take tires as his pit stop was under 30 seconds. Neil Kerbel did take tires out in front, and so we see that gap now actually closing between the top 2. It was around 9 seconds, and now it closed between himself and Beachley to right around 6 seconds. But Neil Kerbel really has the advantage with that fresh tires.
Yeah, I think Kerbel has this race all but in hand and key, so I think they will be I think Kerbel will be okay. Again, now we're just in a kind of a situation where everyone's just kind of got the gaps, and we focus on. Sorry, folks, it's a little tiring here as we approach 10:30 Eastern time. I think it's definitely a situation where we kind of just focus on the little battles and move on from there. Potts Weaver actually, despite being spun out and in basically last place, finds themselves P7 post pit stop. So good work for them, but they are under attack from DeSantiago, who definitely has pace. And Doyle is trying to catch Alex Freeman. This will be interesting to see how Doyle can maybe find himself back in the top 5 here.
Yeah, good battle, Porsche versus Aston Martin. No real clear advantage to one car or the other, not like the McLaren, who we know have that straight line speed advantage. This is a pretty evenly matched battle here between Aston Martin and Porsche. Going through the bomb hole into the final few corners, can Austin Doyle line up some sort of move, nearly bump drafting the Aston Martin in front? Pushing and hoping he can use the Aston Martin to pull himself closer and closer as they go down the start finish straight to start. Lap 15 of the race for them. Austin Doyle to the outside, looks to sweep in. No contact there. A bit of an opening from Alex Freeman. Austin Doyle not quite sticking a nose in yet. Looking for the inside move, but thinking the better of it. Alex Freeman taking a bit of a wider line, maintaining his speed around the corner, and still maintains that position out in front for the moment. Riding on board. Oh, he's going to send it down the inside of turn 4. Austin Doyle gets the move done. They're side by side. Can he get a clean exit? He can. He sweeps into 5th place after that fantastic inside maneuver into turn 4.
What a move. What a beautiful move. What a move by Doyle. It just shows how much Doyle has upgraded from the rookies to the open. It's just an absolutely beautiful move done by Doyle there. and Doyle is now well on the chase to the top 5. Maybe Doyle can get lucky and catch Ilpo, but it's seemingly like the top 4 are pretty much set in stone with their order. Doyle just now has to defend from Freeman, Pottsweaver, and folks still tired to Santiago in the background.
Slap yourself, wake yourself up, go get some coffee. No, I'm just kidding. But nonetheless, yeah, Neil Kerbel out in the lead now, that gap up to 9 seconds again. Ramon Torres actually closing the gap. Oh, a bit of a drift on the exit of the final corner from Alex Freeman, not helping his chances of getting closer to Austin Doyle, with Pottsweaver not too far off in the background there in that orange McLaren, the number 13, trying to gain back the places lost from the first lap, as is Austin Doyle, as well as a bit of a mistake later in the race, dropping back a much more significant amount of positions. I believe he was back in 8th place at one point, so this is certainly a really good recovery, finding himself back in the top 5.
Yep. Doyle definitely happy, definitely wants to be higher, definitely has the pace to be higher, but I think Doyle will be more than happy to take a top 5. It just will be interesting to see if any mistakes happen by any of the other drivers. And let's see this next sector update, how far away Torres is from Beachley. It says 2.6 there. It's now 2.3, so Torres is gaining on Beachley, not substantially, but he is gaining.
Yeah, lap by lap, and there is still a good amount of time left in the race, right around 10 laps to go, maybe 9, as Neil Kerbel is approaching that start-finish line now. So yeah, still plenty of laps to go to line up a move and get anything done. Austin Doyle certainly has a bit more of a gap to manage in front to Ilpo Ruotsalainen than Torres does to Beachley. Now that gap is right under 2 seconds as they cross the start finish line. The tire advantage for those McLarens might really come into play now.
I think it's less to do with the tire advantage and more to just do with the fact they're in a McLaren. To just genuinely be honest with you, I think the McLaren, especially the GT4, is just absolutely meta right now. And Pottsweaver, who was spun sideways, mind you, has already caught up to Freeman. Freeman's pit strategy is nice, but they have to be in like a wider gap and not get caught by any of the drivers. And so far, unfortunately, Pottsweaver is right behind Freeman.
Yeah, Alex Freeman not benefiting from that contact earlier on in the race, taking a really wide hairpin at turn 2, and Pottsweaver dipping a wheel into the grass. That'll certainly be a track limit. Maybe not a violation per se, maybe not quite gaining any time, but nonetheless not a valid lap on the racing surface. And in ACC, you have 3 track limits the game will give you before the 4th one will give the driver a drive-through penalty, and that will certainly be costly as you trickle down with the pit limiter engaged through the pit lane while all the other drivers are going around at racing speeds. And so that is certainly something for the drivers to think about in the closing stages of the race. Don't want to pick up any penalties or any track limit violations to encourage the game to give you any sort of penalty further down the line.
Absolutely not. You got to be really careful with your drive-thrus. Thankfully, with Snetterton, your track limits is basically the grass, and you've already been punished enough based off of that. So unless you go really wide in this final turn and like really gain time, that's really the only place you can get a track limits penalty. But here comes the McLaren again. It just keeps coming. It's race pace is just inevitable, and Pottsweaver again will gain another position and collects Freeman. Freeman's lost to Doyle. He's now lost to Weaver. And that McLaren just keeps on pulling.
Yeah, the top speed advantage of the McLaren really evident once again down that start-finish straight. Getting a really good exit out of the corner, too. It looked like Alex Freeman just running a little bit wide. And the battle for the top two is certainly picking up, with Ramon Torres finding himself within a second of Justin Beachley in the AMG. No new tires for the AMG. Ramon Torres had a much longer pit stop, almost 10 seconds longer than Justin Beachley, so he more than likely did take those fresh Pirelli tires, and it's really showing at how much of an advantage it's giving him after that pit stop.
Yep, tires showing how important they are at Snetterton. So it is very, very important to use that tire advantage while you have it. Ramon Torres can easily get Justin Beachley here. Beachley just looking for the defense, and there you can see the Beach GT livery, the rear wing. How close can Ramon Torres get going into turn one? It's all important, it's all crucial for Beachley to get up this defense, but can he defend for 14 minutes? It doesn't seem likely. Ramon Torres will get a good look at him at some point within this next 14 minutes. And I think Beachley here, Kuja, is just a sitting duck.
Yeah, we've seen Beachley do this strategy before, and it's worked in the past. He was able to defend, but the McLaren, with the combination of how overpowered it is a little bit at the moment in ACC and that fresh tire advantage over the 37 minutes used tires on the AMG in front, this will certainly benefit Ramon Torres in both of those aspects, as he is hunting down that second place position to make it a McLaren 1-2 once again, the way it was before the pit stops. And Justin Beachley, yeah, taking a bit of a gamble, not taking fresh tires and hoping that his tires will be able to last in the closing stages of the race to be able to at least defend enough from that top speed from the McLaren behind. But it looks like he's managing the gap pretty well so far. It is closing and opening from here and there, sector to sector, but he's able to open it where it matters, right down the straights, as he dips a wheel heavily into the sausage curb at turn number 9, and now into the bomb hole before the closing sweeping right-hander before turn 12 to close down the lap. And this is certainly where that tire advantage will come into play. The tires on the outside of the car will be begging for their life as they try to carry as much speed as they can through those sweeping corners.
Beachley moving a little bit out, trying to cut the slipstream of Ramon Torres. But Ramon Torres sticking right behind the Beach GT Mercedes. The Mercedes trying desperately to hold off that McLaren. The McLaren is absolutely dominant just everywhere you go. The air that it breathes is just different. For some strange reason, it can't be explained. And Ramon Torres is just looking. He's waiting. He knows that Beachley is a sitting duck. He knows he has fresh tires. He knows all this because he's in the McLaren. The skill of the driver is obviously a lot of paramount. But here comes the McLaren, and the McLaren goes wide and drifts onto the grass. Ramon Torres will lose out on that position, but he will not lose out on P3, as he was way ahead of Ilpo Ristolainen. And that tire advantage that he had is seemingly now gone.
Yeah, that gap opening up to around 7 seconds or 6.5 seconds on this timing chart that I've got open here as well. Austin Doyle able to close down that gap a little bit to the Camaro. It was around 10 seconds. Now it's about 5.5 seconds between the Porsche in 5th and the Camaro in 4th. And the gap went way down between Torres and Rutsalainen. It is now 5.3 seconds, and the gap really now opening up. Beachley having a 5.6 second advantage over Torres. Torres in that final podium position.
Ramon Torres will most likely keep that podium position unless they decide that they want to find the grass again. But they're not arguably that far from Beachley. 5.4. Obviously, Ilpo's closer to Ramon than Ramon is to Beachley. But it's not absolutely out of the question for Ramon Torres to catch Beachley again. He's still got 9 minutes, and he does have the tire advantage in quotations. So not much of an advantage now that you've just drifted it across the grass for that last lap for like 3 seconds. So take that as you will. But I still think it's not out of the question for Ramon Torres to get a P2. He's just got to put his head down and get some clean laps in.
Yeah, I agree, because the gap was around 4 or 5 seconds right after the pit stop, right around what it is now, and he was able to close on the tail of the AMG within that 10-minute mark that before we saw him go into the grass here. But yeah, so it's certainly definitely in the frame of possibility, and Justin Beachley will certainly try to put his head down as best as possible, I should say, and get those clean laps in on those old tires. But second place is really good for that AMG. Ramon Torres, see it by sector, taking a 10th or 2 out every time, drifting a little bit on the exit there though before the bomb hole. And the Camaro in the background just coming into shot. The gap opening up though to Austin Doyle, the pole sitter, finding himself in 5th place, unfortunately. What is up, Eric? How are you doing tonight, my friend? Hope you're doing well on this start of the week here on Monday. GT4 action as always here at Trackalicious. The rookies starting at 8 o'clock Eastern, and now we've got the open race in the final 8 minutes here. Ramon Torres in that final podium position, taking a 10th or so at a time, sector by sector, away from Justin Beachley in front.
As I said, Ramon Torres just gotta put their head down and keep pushing. It's all you can do. Just put your head down, keep pushing. Don't find the grass, don't sniff it, don't smell it, don't even look at it funny, or else it'll come calling for you. But right now, it's just about lying and waiting and seeing what happens.
Yeah, and certainly still plenty of time to go. All the drivers have completed their mandatory pit stops here. The gap's a bit open, but we've seen it once with Ramon Torres closing the gap to Justin Beachley in front, now trying to do the same. Closing stages of the race. Can Ramon Torres use the overpoweredness of the McLaren at the moment with that fresh tire advantage as well? And we see Ilpo in the Camaro, not too far off. About 5 seconds is the gap. So Ramon Torres doesn't want to have too many adventures like he did a few laps before. And that gap will certainly close down to the Camaro. But he himself is on fire right now, closing the gap by a second a lap, improving that pace of the McLaren over the AMG in second place. And we'll see on this lap just how close that gap is between them. It is now under 3.5 seconds. It was right around 4.2 on the last lap, so nearly a second was taken out of the gap by Ramon Torres. And with just about, I don't know, 3 or 4 laps to go, it's still possible he can get on the tail, but it's another thing to get by that AMG.
Especially since he tried to get past the AMG once in grass. So, and he doesn't have the gap to Ilpo that he had last time. So, if he does get to the back of that AMG, they got to be very careful on how they elect for an overtake. And honestly, I think Eric's pretty happy there's an AMG in second. That Mercedes AMG can handle all situations at hand.
Yeah, cutting the corner there, it looks like, was Justin Beachley. Just a little bit of grass getting kicked up, and that gap closing and closing. Less than 3 seconds as they ticked over the Sector 1 marker. Let's see what it is at the end of the Bentley straight before they go into Sector 3. The gap is certainly closing, and Ilpo, unfortunately, doesn't quite have the pace in the closing stages here to close the gap to Torres, and Doyle finding himself in that same situation, still around 5.5 seconds behind Ilpo in 4th place.
Beachley knows that Ramon Torres is coming. He knows that he has to survive probably 2-3 more laps, and it just has to be consistent laps. The lovely machine taming Eric, the lovely machine taming the technical wonders of the metric ton of Snett. I'm not gonna touch that with a 10-foot pole. I'm just gonna focus on the fact that Beachley is going to try to do their best to hold on, but Ramon Torres is coming, and he's coming very, very quick.
Yeah, he sure is. Another second taken out of the gap on that last lap. It's now 2.2 as they cross to the start finish line, and Justin Beachley will certainly be feeling the pressure now. The gap is really not too far. They find themselves pretty much on the same bit of track here as they cut through the infield section of turn 4 here. That turn is called Agostini before going into turn 5, recently renamed Hamilton Curve, before going into the hairpin at turn 6 for going into that small little straightaway before turn 7, a very crucial exit before the Bentley straight, one of the longest straights at Snetterton here. And certainly it has provided us with a lot of action in the Rookies 2 races and now in the Open as well. Unfortunately, after the pit stops, those gaps just kind of opened up, and now, but Ramon Torres, after going off track, having that little off-road excursion, finding himself within 2 seconds of the AMG in front, and there will be 2 laps to go as Neil Kerbel just now crosses the line with 2:28 on the clock, and he will certainly be able to complete 1 lap for certain before crossing the line, and the timer will run out. So there will be 2 laps left for Ramon Torres to try and change his position from 3rd to 2nd, and for any of the other drivers to maintain their position as well. Just need to ride it clean for the remaining 2 laps here, Tyler.
Yeah, for Ramon Torres, it's just about, can I catch Beachley and how can I do it? And for Beachley, it's just good, consistent laps. This track is very, very difficult to overtake on. So you just have to be strong. You just have to hold on. Ramon Torres is going to run out of energy eventually. He is at the moment 1.1 seconds back. He is cutting in 3 to 4 tenths a sector. Not a lot, folks, a sector. So Ramon Torres is going to be on the back of Beachley, and he will have 1 lap to try and pass this Mercedes AMG, but this AMG is going to be on full defense for that final lap.
Yeah, it sure is. We've seen him go full defense before after the pit stops when Ramon Torres was able to close the gap, and Justin Beachley handled the pressure absolutely beautifully, forcing Ramon Torres off the track and falling back. But now the gap is really close, but it's not close as Ramon Torres would quite like it to be for him to pull off any move here. A little bit of a bumpy ride from the AMG, but he negotiated it just well. Neil Kerbel in the 395 will cross the start finish line for 1 more lap. You hear it there from the race director. The leader is on the final lap. He is going into turn 1, The battle for second and third going into turn 12. 1 lap to go. 3 miles at Snetterton for Justin Beachley to defend his position in second place from Ramon Torres in third. Less than a second separating these two drivers. Really high-speed corners of turn 1. The tire advantage will really be benefiting there for Ramon Torres, as well as the slow exit, and he is right on the bumper of the AMG here. The timer hits 0. This will absolutely be the last lap of the race, and the battle is heating up for second and third.
Ramon Torres, this is the moment. This is the opportunity. You need to get past Beachley if you want that P2. Beachley is going to defend as much as he can, all within the legal limits. Ramon Torres just takes the hairpin better. Beachley needs to get away from this McLaren and needs to do it now. The McLaren has absolutely wonderful straight line speed comparatively to the Mercedes, and Ramon Torres knows it. Ramon Torres is just gonna stay on the back of Beachley and try and get a better exit. Beachley, those tires are hurting. They're begging for mercy, but here comes the McLaren. Beachley looks like he's gonna hold it off though. We might see a dive from Ramon Torres. No, we will not. He'll back off. He'll wait. He'll sneak around this moment. He'll just wait and see what will Beachley do and respond from that. Beachley hugs the inside, goes elects out wide. Kerbal will win the race, but that's not what's the focus here, folks. The focus is on the battle for P2. Beachley looking desperately to hold on. Ramon Torres cuts the inside a little bit, almost hits the sausage curb, goes on a spin on the wide, and here comes the rundown. The McLaren and the Mercedes are gonna go side by. It's a drive to the line. Beachley wins by 12 hundredths of a second. Oh my God. Oh, that was so close to the line. 12 thousandths of a second to decide that P2 finish. I don't know. Maybe Eric can confirm, but for me, that is the closest finish I've ever seen in my broadcasting career. 12 thousandths of a second. Ilpo will take fourth. Doyle will take fifth. Weaver will take sixth. Freeman seventh. Velez eighth. To Santiago 9, and Professor Chronotis P10. I'm in shock.
That was an absolutely wild finish. That was absolutely crazy all the way down to the line. If that line was just a yard or two further, maybe Ramon Torres might have been able to sneak that position through the straight line speed, really coming to play at the end as Brian DeSantiago completes his fun fiasco of racing tonight. 2 20-minute races in the rookies, and then the 50-minute race here. The endurance driver award of the night goes to Brian DeSantiago. And last but not least, Professor Chronotis crossing the line in 10th place in the 42 McLaren. And I really want to hear from the top three, especially from Ramon Torres and Justin Beachley, just to hear what they have to say about what happened there. That was crazy finish. Absolutely wild.
They know where to go if they want. Their voice is heard, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna hear from the marshal waving the red flag like it's something.
Green light. Go, go, go.
There is no green light. The McLaren forgot to put the tongue out. I agree complicitly. And so far, we have 2 out of the 3 drivers in the green. We'll just bring everybody together. And we'll have a nice conversation. Kerbal's not going to have very much to talk about, considering he was literally in the middle of nowhere. And there's Kerbal. Let's grab Beachley as well, and then we'll just probably wait on Ramon Torres. But we'll ask Kerbal a few questions now while we have him, and we wait for Ramon Torres. Kerbal, were you bored?
No, actually, I was watching the battle between Justin Beachley and Torres.
How were you watching it? You were driving.
Yeah, I could watch my relatives. I was doing math.
Nice. Nice. But yeah, congrats on the finish. It was a pretty commanding race there. You qualified in second. The timing was absolutely close between the top three. Were there any room for improvement for you on that qualifying run?
There was, but I kept making mistakes, and like the time that I would gain in sector 1, I would lose in sector 3, and like Doyle just put on an amazing qualification lap. Like, yeah, that was hard to beat.
Yeah, and the race start as well. You got a really good getaway into turn 1, and you kind of never really looked back since that moment. And like you said, you were really paying attention to the gaps behind, and kind of what like. I like to kind of ask this, but what do you focus on when you kind of have a race like that when you're on your own? You're just kind of looking at the races around you?
Yeah, actually, like I said, I was watching the relatives between Justin Beachley and Torres, and I saw Torres catching up. Like when they both came out of the pits, I noticed a difference. Beachley did a no tire strat and overtook and had that 5-second gap. Torres was able to catch up in a few laps, and I think he made a mistake at some point on track, which set him back a little bit. But by the end of the race, he was able to catch up, and it looked really close, but I'm just looking at numbers. I'm sure you guys had a better view.
Yeah, so it was crazy because he came out of the pits like around 5 seconds behind Beachley, closed that gap down within 10 seconds, had a little bit of a mistake, I believe, into turn 5, and then had that gap open up to about 5 seconds, and again, it took about 10 minutes for that gap to close right back down again.
Yeah, you should definitely... hopefully Torres can hop in, but you should definitely talk to Beachley and see what his strategy was.
Yeah, 100%.
Hey, Beachley, how are you feeling? How are you feeling, Beachley? Is your heart in your chest yet?
Yeah, it has been since about 20 minutes left in the race. But yeah, I decided to take no tires. I like the lap before my in lap. I think I ran my fastest lap, so I'm like, you know what? We're just gonna go for it. I was close enough to Torres that if he did take tires, I was going to overtake him in the pits if everything went well. So, yeah, I was like, well, he's got a bit of a gap, and I know the McLaren's fast in the straights, so I was going to be in some trouble. And then he caught me the first time, and if he just misjudged me braking in front of him, and he went off, and then managed to claw it back. Obviously with a couple laps to go, and I'm like, I was in a voice chat with Chrono, and I'm like, he's 5 seconds behind now, and he's like, oh, you're good. All you have to do is keep from gaining 1 second a lap, and then he ended up gaining 1 second a lap, and yeah, the last lap I was like, well, if he doesn't get me on the back straight, he might get me on the pit straight, and. Yeah, it was pretty exciting. I was like, I think gap was like 12,000ths of a second at the end.
Yep, 12,000. There was absolutely nothing between you guys at the end. That was a crazy finish for kind of what was a bit of a lull there during the pit stops. So it was about half the field that pitted a little early, and then half the field kind of pitted right at that halfway minute mark. And then all the action really picked up in those last 10 to 20 minutes. Austin Doyle was closing the gaps out in front as well. And so, yeah, it was crazy to see that absolutely great defense, too. What's it like defending on those old tires from someone who has that speed advantage behind?
I mean, it's really about like adjusting your braking points a little bit, braking a little bit earlier, making sure you're hitting the apexes, all that stuff, which, easier said than done. Because it's very easy to like overdrive the car, especially when you have somebody breathing down your neck. But just try to take the most defensive lines I could, and try not to watch the relative too much. But when you see it, closing that quickly, it's hard not to. So I wasn't sure if it was going to work out. Just given how fast the McLaren is on the straights, but. I figured I'd give it a shot, and tonight it worked. I think I might have done something similar earlier in the season, and it definitely didn't work. So, it's just kind of the way it goes. But got very lucky. I think people having incidents in front of me at the beginning. starting in 7th, and then ended up, I think, in 4th after a couple laps, and then somebody else spun out in the top 3, and I'm like, okay, well, we're in the podium. And I think I was closing up a little bit on Torres before the pit stop, so I'm like, I think that kind of enabled me to, not take tires just to see what would happen. Yeah, that's what happened.
Well, we got Ramon Torres to talk to the other side of that situation. What a finish, Ramon! You know how to keep it spicy till the end. You had him a little bit early on, but then did you miss your breaking point and then just go off into the grass? Like, what happened there?
So what happened there? It was I guess so close to him, so I lose track of the track. So I missed the breaking point. So when I realized I was already out of the track, so I said, well, I have few minutes left. Let's see what I can do, and I just focused on getting him. But that was a really epic ending.
Yeah, it was 12 thousandths of a second separating you two at the end. That was the closest finish I think we had ever seen here between myself and Tyler. So that was absolutely crazy. What was it like? You were able to catch up to him once. Did you have the confidence to be able to catch up to him again in those last 10 minutes?
Yeah, when I start seeing he was losing time in a few corners, I said I can get him. So yeah, I was really, really confident.
Yeah, it seemed like it that McLaren really showed a lot of pace down the straights. It almost looked like you had a bit of a wiggle coming out of that final corner. Describe the feeling, what it's like going down the straight, just seeing that gap closing and closing before that checkered flag.
I cannot explain it. It's adrenaline, really, really really rush adrenaline. But it was really good race.
Beachley tried to squeeze you onto the grass in the final part there. I can see Beachley slowly starting to drift. Like, is he gonna force this man onto the grass? Like, I can tell Beachley's like white knuckling his wheel, like, come on, go faster.
Screaming, let's go. Yeah.
Oh, next time stick your tongue out. Maybe it'll help you go faster.
Definitely. Oh my god.
But congrats to all of you. That was insane, that finish. I don't think I don't think we'll see a closer finish again. Hopefully not this season. If we do, I might actually have a heart attack. So let's try and prevent that.
Yeah. Okay.
Kuja, anything else for them?
Yeah, just congrats again. Podium finish, always a good accomplishment. Congrats on the win, Neil. Congrats on just sneaking in that second place, Justin, and Ramon almost taking it on the line, but still fantastic racing from you guys. Good luck in the remaining 2 rounds of the championship, and hopefully we'll see you again in the green room for a chat after the podium.
Thank you, guys. We see you.
Yeah, thanks for hosting this and streaming it. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Always a pleasure, especially on these Mondays with the GT4s providing so much action and just how tight the field is, even between the rookies and the Open Championship. Before we send it to our final thoughts, let us take a look real quick at the Trackalicious calendar and see what's in store for the rest of the spring. On Mondays, we've got 2 rounds left of the GT4 Rookies and the GT4 Open Championship starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, with the Rookies and the Open right after that, with prizes from Next Level Racing going to the championship winner in the GT4 Open Series and a random participant who did 7 of the 8 races in the GT4 Rookies Series. On Tuesdays, we switch over to Le Mans Ultimate. The 5-round championship is underway for the multi-class 60, and that is the hypercars and the GT3s. I believe there's a few slots left still open for signups on SimGrid. We're going to the classic Fuji circuit tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern. Wednesday, we go back to ACC for the GT3 West Coast Championship starting at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. But of course, you don't have to live on the West Coast. If the time works for you, it works for us. Do register on SimGrid. Signups are still open. Just over the halfway mark of that championship. 3 rounds left going to Valencia this week. Thursday, we switch it up and go to iRacing at 8:30 Eastern with the start of qualifying. More than a good halfway through that championship. The first day of May will bring us a race around Hockenheim in that mixed GT3 and GT4 championship. On Fridays, the Multiclass Masters and the Orica Masters Club has concluded, so do join the Discord to keep up to date with any upcoming Le Mans Ultimate or other series that might be coming up on Fridays here at Trackalicious. Saturdays, we've got the day off. Maybe the occasional one-off driver swap event or so. We do have a driver swap event championship going on. Signups are open for that on SimGrid as well. And then Sundays, to start the week or close the week, depending on how you like to look at it, we've got the Next Level Racing GT3 Pro Championship starting at 8:30 Eastern Time with qualifying. Starting the second half of the championship at Nordschleife this past weekend, yesterday actually, going to Olton Park next week for that 80-minute race. And the winner of that championship will win an ERS4 fabric and Sim Aero mesh seat from our great friends at Next Level Racing. Take it back to our studio here for our final thoughts. We'll kick it over to you, Tyler. He's still here. Hello, Tyler?
Yep, still here. Sorry, I forgot my mic was muted as you were going through the thing. Definitely surprised by that. That definitely could have gone either way in terms of those two drivers finishing. I'd like to see a little bit more turnout from both days, but Snetterton's not a track that everyone seemingly enjoys. So it's kind of expected there, to be honest. So, well, we're at Watkins Glen next week. That produces a lot of fun driving. I had my best finishes at Watkins Glen when I drove in the rookies. So it'll be interesting to see how everything goes. And I look forward to seeing everyone here next week.
Yeah, 100% agree. Then, yeah, of course, the British tracks are their own DLC pack, so maybe just not a popular choice in DLC as well, but we'll be back next week for certain with our usual turnout. I am certain at Watkins Glen, we're going to get ourselves a lovely raid set up. Send some love over to another sim racing community, see what they have going on in their sort of streaming world. And we always love to see what other people have going on in store. Thank you all for joining us in the chat as well, talking to us throughout the race, showing us who you are supporting throughout the championship as well. It's very fun to see all of that support for everybody else in the championship. And so today, let's continue that support for our friend Daniel Gray. He is currently streaming iRacing, and it's his birthday, so definitely spread some extra love his way following our stream here tonight. We do appreciate all the support, all the new followers, all of those little bits donated as well. We really appreciate all the support from everybody chatting along, watching along, throwing those follows in. And yeah, really couldn't do it without you guys. We love broadcasting to you guys. I speak for myself and I think all the other broadcasters here, and it's super fun to have you guys watching along and enjoying what we do here and enjoying the rookies get better. And there are those bits we're talking about. Thank you so much for that support. And yeah, like we mentioned, let's support fellow sim racing communities here with a raid of our good friend Daniel Gray. Birthday stream. Make sure to send him happy birthday from Trackalicious. And yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night to wherever you're watching from, and we will catch you all next time.